each one of you have heard or seen. But what I would like to say is, yes, it is something, a decisive punch which India had against our adversary. Today amongst us we have various prominent persons, experts and celebrities in their own fields, who are going to give the various views and the technology and science which has been involved behind Operation Sindoor. We have amongst us Lieutenant General A. Arun, retired, a strategist. Padma Shri Dr. Pahalgam, a DRDO scientist and the man behind the successful Akash missiles. We have AVM K. Santosh from the Software Development Institute of the Air Force. Colonel H. Shankar, Chairman and Managing Director, Alpha Digital Technologies Limited, the man behind the Sky Striker drones. Professor Udaya Birje from the Mysore Lancer Foundation, Professor Anshuman Behera from NIAS, Professor Jagadeesh Gupta from the Aerospace Department, IISc, Professor Deshmukh from IIT Tirupati, and Shri Ravi Iyer, a public policy expert. Quite uniquely, compared to many other such meets or such events where Ops Sindoor has been discussed, we have amongst us today a very special guest, Dr. Sujata B., a survivor from the actual Pahalgam attack, who lost her husband, late Bharat Bhushan, in the attack. And she was the lady to whom the terrorists told, go and tell Modi. So we'll be having here a small live picture of the Pahalgam encounter. Most of these speakers will be giving their views or their expertise into the Ops Sindoor, and we'll also have a small panel discussion amongst them. You will know more about each one of them when they are being introduced before their talks. Today also happens to be another important day for the country, when the rail link to Jammu and Kashmir has been made fully functional with the opening of the Katra-Kwazigund railway link by our Prime Minister. Why I brought this also is, as the President of the IISc Alumni Association, I would like to dedicate to the nation the contribution of the various IISc alumni, the faculty of the IISc alumni, and the various students of the Indian Institute of Science who have in their own way, directly or indirectly, contributed to Ops Sindoor and also to the national growth. The arch bridge, which was the final block in the railway bridge, in the railway line, has been designed by our IISc faculty from the Civil Engineering Department, Dr. Madhabi Lata. 17 years she has taken to help the Indian Railways and the construction company Afcons, and it was a dynamic design because at every step they faced with many things unknown coming out while digging. So it was totally a dynamic design, keeping on reiteration, and finally it is there, a bridge, the second highest bridge in the world and 38 meters higher than the Eiffel Tower. So with these achievements of the Indian Institute of Science, I rededicate the complete contribution of each and every one from the Indian Institute of Science to the nation. So, without taking much more of your time, we would like to proceed ahead. We would like to offer our Shraddhanjali to the few martyrs, 8 of them, who laid down their lives during Sindoor, to our Bharat Mata, and also Shri Bharat Bhushan, a victim from Bangalore at Pahalgam. I would request all the speakers to please come onto the stage and offer floral tributes to the martyrs.
इवेंट शेड्यूल के हिसाब से टाइम कब होता है?
It is with great solemnness that all of us here offer our tributes to the martyrs of Sindoor. Thank you all for offering your Shraddhanjali to the martyrs. I welcome each one of you who are present here. It's also, this event has been organized jointly by the IISc students body Prasthutha, who are promoting national integration in the campus, and also the Indian Institute of Science Alumni Association, and supported by the Mysore Lancers Foundation. I welcome each one of you as present here, and also some other celebrities like Lieutenant General Sundaram from the DRDO, the man only next to the late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in developing the missiles for India, who was closely followed immediately by Padma Shri Dr. Pahalgam to take forward the integrated guided missile development program for India. And the success of it, all of you have seen. We have our past presidents of the IISc Alumni Association also here. I welcome you all also to this gathering, and I'm sure over the next 2 hours plus, you are all going to have a good insight into what happened or how it happened in Sindoor. Thank you all. Welcome once again. Now, I would request Srimayee from the IISc Geetanjali troupe to render the Vande Mataram.
Namaste. Thank you, Prasthutha IISc, for this opportunity to sing for my country, to sing for the martyrs, and to sing for the survivors and all of you. Please join me in singing Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayaj Shitalam, Shasya Shamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Shubhra Jyotsna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Drumadana Shubhrini, Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Koti Koti Kantha Kala Kala Ninada Karane, Koti Koti Bhuji Dhrita Khara Karamani, Abala Kilumait Bani, Bahubala Dharini, Namami Tarini, Ripudala Varini, Mataram, Vande Mataram. Tumi Vidya, Tumi Dharma, Tumi Riddhi, Tumi Mahima, Tvam hi Pranaha Shariri, Bahuti Tumi Ma Shakti, Hridayi Tumi Ma Bhakti, Tomaro Pratima Gori Mundiri Mundiri, Vande Mataram, Tvam hi Durga Matulam Sujalam Supalam Mataram Vande Mataram Shyamalam Saralam Shushmitam Bhushitam Dharanim Dharanim Mataram Vande Mataram Sujalam Suphalam Malayaj Shitalam Shasya Shamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Bharat Mata ki
A heartfelt thank you to Srimayee for Geetanjali Group for that powerful soul-stirring rendition of Vande Mataram. Our next speaker is here to share words of a deeply personal and heart-wrenching experience. On a family vacation to Kashmir, Dr. Sujata, along with her husband Bharat Bhushan and their 3-year-old son, were in Pahalgam, a place for its breathtaking beauty and calm. But that serenity was shattered in an instant when terrorists ambushed their vehicle and opened fire. While she and her little boy survived, her husband was shot dead. And as if the act of terror wasn't brutal enough, the gunman left her with a chilling message, "Go tell Modi." A message soaked in hate, aimed not just at one man, but at the very spirit of the free and united Bharat. Today, Dr. Sujata stands before us not only as a grieving wife, but as a symbol of unbreaking strength. She is here to remind us that terrorism doesn't attack people, it attacks peace, families, and the souls of our nation. In the next few moments, she will share her story, a story of unimaginable loss, survival, and undying love. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sujata.
Good afternoon, esteemed gentlemen and ladies. I was not prepared to say anything today, but
You can just tell whatever, just simple few words, and why we need this operation, whether it is useful.
we are, I don't want to brag about myself, but we are humble people. We don't know anything about the world. We just wanted to enjoy our vacation during the school holidays. So why not Kashmir? Because there are a lot of scenes I used to watch on the TV. I always liked something serene, something nature. Nature is something like that. And my husband decided to take me to Kashmir. Why not? Because since Modi came, it has been a very peaceful place. So we quite enjoyed it, starting from the 18th onwards, and right from till the last day on the 22nd, when we took a road trip from Srinagar to Pahalgam. It was quite beautiful. Kashmir, I can't believe that such a place exists in India. The whole scenery from Srinagar to Pahalgam, and the journey upstairs to Baisaran Valley, we enjoyed quite a bit. And it was all shattered within few minutes. I don't know, people who hurt us were amongst us. I don't know what to say. My son, myself, we saw something grotesque happening to my loved one. I can't imagine what others would be feeling, what the other families are feeling right now. But I would just ask that this terrorism should be eradicated. It should not happen in the future. We are not prepared to handle such things. And if we are not safe in our own country, where else would we be? So, but whatever the Indian government has done till now, thank you so much in trying to eradicate terrorism both within our country and in our neighborhood. And I wish they continue to do so. They are giving their best in doing that. And thank you for everything, all the support that you've shown us till today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sujata, for your incredible courage and for reminding us of the human cost of terrorism. Now to introduce Prasthutha, I would like to call upon Dr. Daniel, Vice President of the same, which is a student forum at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, which is committed to nurturing a spirit of patriotism within the scientific community. Afterward, Dr. Pratap Das, Vice President of the IISc Alumni Association, will speak about the association and its role in supporting the IISc community.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and fellow members of the Indian Institute of Science community. It is with great pleasure and pride that I stand before you today to introduce the vibrant and thought-provoking student group of IISc, Prasthutha. So Prasthutha is the platform where divergent thoughts come together without prejudice and ideas flourish. This group stands out as a shining example of enlightenment, activism and national pride within our esteemed institution. It is their dedication that has brought forth this premier event today. The birth of Prasthutha is very interesting. It was formed in 1998 when the country was celebrating the trump of our nuclear tests in Pokhran, but against the backdrop of all the negative talks and humiliation of our scientific development and scientific achievements by many inside the campus. So Prasthutha was given birth to give voice to those who have original thoughts, who stand for this great nation and have values and traditions that are time immemorial. Though the idea was to spread awareness about our country's scientific achievements and contributions to the campus life of our students by encouraging dialogues, the Prasthutha also gives significant contributions by promoting student debates that are to the interest of nation without the fear of prejudice. Since its inception, Prasthutha has been a constant advocate for responsible citizenship and societal engagement, rooted in the belief that knowledge, Gyan, should be the only tool for bringing the positive change to our society. This student group has tirelessly worked to foster awareness of an array of scientific, economic, and social issues of national importance. Few of the speakers I would like to mention Sri Vidyananda Shenoy of Bharat Darshana, Professor Radham Narasimha, Dr. R. Chidambaram of BARC, Dr. Kasturi Rangan of ISRO, Dr. Prahlada of LRD, Professor S. Gurumurthy, Shobhan Dasgupta, Arun Shauri, and the former, current Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shri Shankar, Dr. Shankar, or few of the top speakers whom we have brought to this campus and to provoke the nationalism, scientific nationalism among the students and the scientific community inside the campus. So without wasting much time, and since we have a stalwart of speakers here who are going to enlighten us about the Operation Sindoor and the military operation which happened and about the success and what can be learned from the operation, I would like to complete my talk, and I would like to invite the next speaker to come on stage and give the... Also, one more thing is the speakers, my humble request to speakers are, there are 10 speakers today, so please kindly abide by the time so that we can complete the program well on time. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker bridges the world of cutting-edge technology and deep-rooted history. Professor Udaya Birje is a pioneer.
Sorry for the confusion. So this is Dr. Pratap. So I represent the alumni association. So is the formal body of the alumni of this great institute, which was registered in 1975 under the directorship of Professor Satish Dhawan, on whose name the hall is. So its mission and vision is to bring all the alumni spread across the globe under one single umbrella and help the institute to promote scientific temper in the society by doing various activities supported by the alumni. So presently we have about 12,000 registered life members, and we are celebrating our golden jubilee year. So with occasions like this, IISc Alumni Association feels proud to help the students and the society spread this science in the society. We have several distinguished past presidents among us today, so I feel proud to say about the alumni association today, like Dr. Pahalgam, Padma Shri, K.R. Srinivasan sir, and General Sundaram. Several of our alumni will enlighten you with the scientific insights on Operation Sindoor today. Thank you.
We invite our volunteers for the Swagatam, and I invite Professor Birje on the stage. Let's go forward with some of his introduction. Professor Udaya Birje is a pioneer in the fields of technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation, with over 3 decades of experience in the leadership roles at renowned firms like HCL Hewlett-Packard and Digital Equipment Corporation. He played a key role in building the networking production divisions across India and South Asia. But beyond his work in industry, Professor Birje wears another equally significant hat, that of a historian and a patriot. As president of the Mysore Lances Foundation, he has been instrumental in bringing to light the heroic contributions of the Mysore Lancers, an elite cavalry unit that fought with the unmatched bravery during World War I, most notably in the Battle of Haifa. Please join me in welcoming Professor Udaya Birje to the stage.
Thank you. Slide. Bharat Mata ki Vande. I just have 8 minutes, but I think I just want to do justice to all the great legends that who are going to be speaking after me. But I thought it's important to set a foundation in such a legendary institution. I think has contributed so much to our country, including the military warfare of various regiments in the country. So today, we have gathered here to celebrate success, talk about the future, as well as remember the legacy that has contributed to the success of Operation Sindoor. I am a technologist by profession. However, my DNA and bloodline is that of a warrior. Let me give you a quick glimpse of that legacy which we are all proud of as Bharatiyas, as well as Kannadigas. Here, this was the promise, this was done on the promise of self-rule or independence by the Britishers, which they betrayed after we helped them win the World War I in 1918. The Mysore Lancers, armed with lances and swords, achieved a historic victory in the Battle of Haifa, liberating Israel port city from the Ottoman and German forces alongside Jodhpur and Hyderabad regiments. This battle was one of the most successful cavalry charges in modern warfare, resulted in the capture of 1,350 prisoners and significant artillery, with the Mysore regiment suffering 8 deaths and 34 wounded. Their valor is commemorated annually as Haifa Day in India, Israel, and in many places across the world, with memorials in Haifa, Delhi, that is Murti, Haifa Chowk, and in Bangalore, and in Haifa, Israel. So can you go back to the first slide, please? First slide. This is a historic picture. You know, this is the victory parade of the Mysore and the Jodhpur Lancers when this is a picture of September 23rd, 1918, our great Mysoreans and Jodhpur's victory parade when they liberated Haifa city from, you know who? The Ottomans. Who were the Ottomans? The Turks. Turks and the Germans, the most powerful enemy, we liberated. And this was the army which worked under the Mysore Maharaja. And you know that Mysore Maharaja set up Indian Institute of Science. So next slide. So the Mysore Maharaja, what is so great about just Indian, it is not just about Indian Institute. All these institutions, IISc, Raman Research Institution, Mysore University, and can you see that Hindustan Aeronautics, that is Hindustan Aircraft Limited, was also set by the Mysore Maharaja, which has, you know, we have a representative partly who has collaborated with Indian Air Force here. And Engineers Day celebrated on whose birthday? Vishweshwaraya. Mysore Maharaja appointed Saran Vishweshwaraya the Diwan of Mysore from 1914 to 1918 when our army went to Europe. Okay, and then we have Nalwadi Krishna Rajendra Vadiyar, and of course J. Sivada, J. Chandra Vadiyar, and of course there is Swami Vivekananda. You read up, I think this story itself will take for one full day. But please read up and do some research on this. So all these great institutions here in this, what I have shown you, created and formed the ecosystem of today's India's research and talent from organizations like BHU, DRDO, NIL, DRD, LRD, HAL, Indian Air Force, Army, Indian Army, etc. And today's Viksit Bharat, they are the pioneers of today's Viksit Bharat. All these institutions which are set up by the Mysore Maharaja. And of course, these are all majorly pride of Karnataka. And all of us, Mysore Maharaja, we did not set up only in Karnataka and in Mysore. This center image, does anybody know what this center picture is? This is the picture of Maharaja's photo in the Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi. He was the co-founder of BHU. How many of you know this? And this is the picture, you know, with he was the first chancellor of BHU. Okay, and I think let me just, skip over the pictures. This is the World War I memorial in Haifa, Israel. You know, somebody who has visited Haifa is here, that is Ravi Iyerji. Prime Minister Modi in 2017 visited, paid respects to all our forefathers. I mean, the Mysore and the Jodhpur Lancers and other people who laid their life for this great cause. Next slide, please. This is in Delhi. This was a neglected monument after Modi ji came to power. It is now a beautiful monument in the heart of Delhi, in the diplomatic enclave, just opposite to Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. Next one. Next slide. How many of you know this is very much in Bengaluru? This is the Mysore Lancers Memorial, just about 2-3 kilometers from IISc. the fantastic memorial. And every year, as the MC said, we celebrate Haifa Day on September 23rd. So that's it. I think, I wanted to thank you all and enjoy the next few sessions, the fantastic line of speakers. I want to thank all the speakers who cooperated and who came here, and thank you very much. And before that, I think we owe it to him. Mysore Maharaja ki Jai! Mysore Lancers, Amar Rahe! Jai Hind, Jai Bharat!
Thank you, Professor Birje, for your enlightening talk on the Mysore Lancers and history of how the Indian Institute of Science was set up. Next we have Colonel H.S. Shankar, Chairman and Managing Director of Alpha Design and Technology Limited. Colonel Shankar is a graduate from Bangalore, 1964, electrical engineer, and he joined the Indian Army, the Corps of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers. As a young officer itself, he had so much of research acumen in him that a Tiger Cat missile, which had been given to us by Russia, was a standalone missile. It was not integrated with any radar. But he, in his young age, did the research and integrated the Tiger Cat missile with our radar superstructure mass and made sure that the enemy aircraft is tracked and we can have a more accurate fire than the standalone missile. For this act, he was awarded the Visishta Seva Medal, one of the very young officers who would ever get such an award in the Army. He served in the Indian Army under various capacities, starting from a young lieutenant to the rank of a full colonel, and held various prestigious appointments. And in 1986, he was absorbed by the Bharat Electronics Limited as a Deputy General Manager, and there he was production, design, development, international marketing, so many posts he held, till finally he rose up as the Director R&D of Iyer, where he retired in 2003. In 2004, based on his large, vast experience in the Indian Army and also in the Bharat Electronics Limited, he started out as an entrepreneur and created the Alpha Design and Technologies Limited. This is a company which right from then is Atmanirbhar. His company manufactures such spares which many of our foreign suppliers had refused to supply to India, either because it was obsolete there or on account of some contractual obligations was not there. Whereas he indigenized most of the spares required for the Indian imported equipment and made sure that each of them becomes operationally successful in the Indian Defence Forces. Today, his company competes with government-established public sector undertakings like Bharat Dynamics Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Bharat Electronics, etc., as a competitor to supply, to manufacture or to design, develop, manufacture and supply items and products to the Indian defence and the space system. I am really proud to be having associated with him for the last 54 years. I know him right from the day I got commissioned. And time and again, somewhere or other, we have always been bumping into one another. He did his MTech in IISc 1975, And he came as my Guruji in the Military College of Electronics and Mechanical Engineering, where he taught me. I was doing a degree engineering course. Subsequent to that, at various times, we have had a lot of interactions. Even after he came out of the army, I also came out of the army. I had some interactions with Iyer. I used to be interacting with him. And now, of course, as retired EMA officers, we interact at least 2 to 3 times a year, where we meet all of us. And the most important thing as far as Op Sindoor goes is the Sky Striker drone system has been developed by Alpha Design Technology Systems. And not wanting to take any more time, I would request Colonel Shankar to please come onto the stage and enlighten us about the contribution of Alpha Design and Technologies Limited to the Indian Army, Indian Defence System, and Op Sindoor. Please, sir.
Good to have Sindoor on your head as soon as you come on the stage. Yes, I'm part of the organizer. Ladies and gentlemen, and particularly the Martyrs and his family who's here, Arun and Sujata. Firstly, on behalf of all of us, a big namaskaram to her and his family, her family. So, saying that, today what I would like to concentrate and say in this few minutes is, of course it is related to Sindoor, but I would like to divide it into 3 portions. One portion is with respect to the few major wars India has fought from its border, from its inception of 1947. Secondly, where we are in Sindoor, and in Sindoor we see what is the contribution that the industry as a whole has done and what it could do further so that Atmanirbhar scheme of our Honorable Prime Minister could be taken forward. And also, one of the questions that is asked also, it was given in writing earlier, that how these things could be prevented and what are the change that Sindoor has been on. So I'll quickly go through the first phase. All of you know the history of the wars we have fought. You will change it? You will change it? Yeah. Can you go to the next one? So this is of course the famous war of 1947, already mentioned by the earlier speaker, where the Indian Army prevented the infiltrators from Pakistan Army who disguised as infiltrators and came over and went over and took almost about 55% of then Jammu and Kashmir. Unfortunately, of course, as you know, you would have gone, if they had another about 15 days time, they would have further continued. In fact, I'm told that Field Marshal Karyaba and General Srimayee both went to the then Prime Minister, Pandit Nehru, and pleaded with him that give us another 15 days time. We'll take them out of Kashmir. But somehow or the other, the then leadership felt otherwise, and they went instead to the United Nations, thinking that that would be very, very impartial sort of a group. Anyhow, because of that, the Jammu Kashmir was divided, and that's why we have this problem. The next, of course, was, and this is still going on, and this is the basis, and the seats were Operation Sindoor was put or drawn, was initiated during the Second War. Then came our 1962 war. Indian Army's debacle over there against Chinese. We were totally defeated in that place in the war, both on the eastern sector and on the northern sector. So the Chinese came over and captured large areas of the then NEFA, Northeastern Frontier Agency, and in Ladakh region, a large chunk of that. And after 20 days and 25 days, they declared unilateral ceasefire and went back to the original place from where they had initiated this war. This war was also necessitated because, again, the mistake of the then government, who unnecessarily gave up their claims over Tibet. British were very clever. They had put Tibet, as you know, as a buffer country or buffer state between India and China. That whole of the thing, whole of Tibet was handed over the platter by, again, the famous then Prime Minister. And that's why we have the Chinese, India, problem areas still raising its head even after so many years. So for both these, courses which took and the problems we have even today, you can trace it to the then leadership at the time, unfortunately. Of course, it would have been done with all the good intentions, but the result was something different. Then we came to the 1965 war. After 1962, as you know, there was frantic development of defense industry, defense acquisitions, and training of the soldiers, and getting the correct type of weapons and then uniforms and all that. Because in 1962, our soldiers fought over there with OG cloth type of uniform, even in high altitude area during winter. So that was all changed over, and a new type of this thing was built up in a very fast manner, at which time both the Indian industry and the local industry took part and participated, but a large number of equipment were also imported. And DRDO was given specific tasks to improve upon and build up as much as possible the equipment and systems indigenously. So in this 65 operations, Pakistan came to our territory initially. They launched their aircrafts with their and tried to completely annihilate our own air bases. They started that, and then they got it back and doubled the strength when Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri was the Prime Minister. So Indian Army fought on the western border and captured also very many areas of interest, tactical interest also, particularly in the Kashmir region, a place called as Haji Pir Pass. That is a crucial pass from which even today the terrorists come into the what is called as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So in that, again, after the end of the 1965 war, there was a prolonged ceasefire for almost about 5 months, and then again a hodgepodge sort of an agreement was made between Lal Bahadur Shastri and General Field Marshal Ayub Khan at Tashkent, and the Tashkent agreement was signed. India giving back all the territories they had won, and of course exchange of prisoners took place. So again we lost out what we had earned in that period of time. Then came the 1971, which is a the major point of pride for all of us, during which in the eastern sector the things were building up in the area now known as Bangladesh, and at that time Indian Army moved in, and to prevent basically the refugees to come into our own territory and spoil our own economy. But the main fact was rather tactically and very nicely handled by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi under the leadership of Army's leadership of Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, who later became Field Marshal. At that time he was a general, and Navy and Air Force played a major role in ensuring that this would result in positive direction to the Indian policy, and Bangladesh was liberated. So in that, one of the things that was there was, I was there in the 65 operations and also in 71 operations. 65 operations, probably our force was the first force to move directly from the academy to the operational area. And in 1971 I was posted in Sikkim, and the whole division moved to Bangladesh. So I had the great fortune, and one of the plus points of my whole life, I would say, was to see 93,500 Pakistani officers and men laid down their arms, and the treaty was signed between, as you can see, General Arun and General Niazi signing the surrender agreement. And in front of us, these 93,000 troops were, they have laid down their arms. And that's how the Bangladesh war ended with India occupying. And in the western side again, so many places which earlier in the 1965 war, what India had captured, that was also taken by the Indian Army, Air Force together with Navy giving, covering force from the sea areas and giving, spoiling and bombarding Karachi and other ports. So with this combination, Bangladesh was liberated. Later, we win wars, but the peace is lost. We lose peace because of the political leadership. And again, 1971, whatever we had won, we had captured 93,000 troops, Pakistani troops, and I'll tell a few points later. So that was again, Simla Pact was signed by the lady who had earlier given tremendous leadership for winning the Bangladesh war, but unfortunately we had to succumb, probably the pressure from the then Prime Minister from Pakistan, that is Bhutto, and she signed again the Simla Pact, which is a paper, on the paper only, it was not very effective or nobody believed in it, particularly in Pakistan. And on that basis, again, Indian troops gave back, particularly the western flank, whatever they had won, and it was given back to them. And at that time also in 1971 on the western flank, again, this famous pass, I told you, Hajipur Pass, was again captured by Indian Army, given back to them. So this whole the story was there till 1971. Then we came to Kargil, but before we go to Kargil, in 1971, after the war ended, the prisoners of war from Pakistan and Bangladesh, they were all taken to Indian cantonments, particularly Jhansi, Babila area. As luck would have it, I was made the camp commandant and went over and took over. And so I've got just 2 minutes time, so I'll quickly finish now. So over there as the camp commandant, and I came in close contact with Pakistani troops and all that, and they were all full of praise for the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force. Then after that, Kargil came in, which you all know. Then, of course, the topic of today, that is Ops in Group. So why I told the background is that it is not the first time that we were having a war with Pakistan, winning it in various places and giving it back. Ops in Group was started with every one of us thinking that it would be to take over what we call as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. But that did not appear to be the main aim of the whole exercise, which we came to know as citizens at the end of this 5 days war. Because the aim and objective was just to annihilate the terrorist bases and to destroy them. And for that, one of the things that happened in this is that technology, which was taking the second step in all the wars earlier, took the first step. And the various strategies that was earlier been adopted in various wars, from our olden days of Mahabharata to till today, that strategies for armies to undertake was completely changed almost. Even today, of course, as you know, 2 wars are going on. That is with Ukraine and Russia, and in Gaza with Israelites. But all of them related to capturing the territory and holding on to it. And that was the aim earlier also. But in this particular war, the aim and objective was limited. That is to just destroy the source from which the terrorist organizations were blooming. So that was done in a very short period of time. And that too, by not a soldier or a tank or anything else going into Pakistan territory. And without even losing even a single human being. This was done and very successfully. And all the modern science and technology which is behind our own, missiles and fighter aircrafts, and then the drones, and then other items and all that which are also being used, I believe. So those all played a crucial part. And with respect to that, the Indian industry also has got and has been getting the necessary support, and also DRDO has playing its part very well, and they have also, speeded up their own R&D efforts, and now there is a sort of a very well made, understandable and really required sort of Atmanirbhar and that type of things coming up in the public and private domain. And from our own side, I am from Alpha Design Technologies, as was very kindly mentioned by Raju Rajaram. And one of the things which we have made quite a lot of things and that also took part, but the one that has caught the eye probably is that the Striker drone system, which is not exactly a drone, which is almost a UAV in which certain explosives have been put inside, and it can go up to 100 kilometers to the enemy territory, and of course, no pilot is required, and it can be earlier itself programmed to reach a destination with the GPS and other help, and it goes and it goes around that particular area and hovers about it and chooses that particular target for which the instructions have been given, or the target, the result also change and hits the target, and of course you lose that particular Sky Striker, but that is a small thing to lose as compared to the human being or a pilot if that job had to be done. So this we have done earlier itself. In fact, we have for this we have a joint venture in Bangalore itself, in PDI area, with the Elbit system, and we have done primarily earlier for almost about 4 to 5 years. We have been doing for export purposes. More than about 600 such systems we have made for exports, and now out of that, in the last about 2 years, the government of India took some numbers out of that, and other that was probably used. How many and where, we have not clearly been told, and I do not want to speculate here. So on that basis, effective measures were taken by the Indian Army artillery in fact. So, and of course, immediately after this war is over, already we are one of the probably the beneficiaries of this war, in the sense a lot of new equipment, new systems and all that are being ordered on us, and of course to be given in a very short period of time. So we have become very busy and making the equipment, and frankly speaking, a little bit of money also. So this is the advantage, and not only us, but all the industries played their part. So in the technological development and new technologies coming in, and that is the plus point of this particular Sindoor project. So it is not only just for the purposes of political one-upmanship of going against and hitting the terrorist areas, it is also very essential. In addition to that, the Indian Defence Forces have benefited or will benefit more, and Indian industries have already thrived. It will thrive much more and give a lot of help and support, and the youngsters from organizations like Indians of Science and all that also will contribute, I'm sure. Lots of startups are coming in, and it will all bring in a better sort of a form in which everybody goes far beyond what they are doing today. So this is the story of that, and just some photographs which you can skip because of lack of time. So we have got all the facilities, of course, R&D facilities, production facilities, manufacturing facilities. So as I told, it's just the concept of war estate. The technology, there is a fusion between human beings and the technology, which has been proven, and also now probably most of the wars will be fought in this particular manner. Then of course, peeping into the future is already mentioned. The students and the youngsters can take advantage in building up new technologies, new equipment, new systems, and bring it to the customers, that is the defense forces, for the best of the customers one can ever imagine. So this is what I wanted to say, and thank you very, very much for this opportunity given to me. Wish you all the best. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Colonel Shankar, for your system's level clarity and deep institutional knowledge. Your experience bring a much-needed understanding of how technology and strategy must align to strengthen India's defense capabilities. Our next speaker is a scholar whose work critically engages with conflict, radicalization, and national security. Dr. Anshuman Behera is an associate professor in the Conflict Resolution and Peace Research. Prior to this, he served at the Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis, IISc New Delhi, India's premium defense think tank. His research focuses on Islamic radicalization and terrorism in South Asia, political violence in India, and the intersections of development, conflict, and democracy. He has authored 2 recent books, Militant Group in South Asia, Pentagon Press, and Varying Dimensions of India's National Security, Springer Nature. Today, he will be delivering a talk on a social basis of terrorism in Pakistan, subject vital to understanding the roots of extremism and its regional impact. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Anshuman Behera to the stage.
Namaskara, and I've been given only 8 minutes, so what I'll do is I'll not explain, I'll just read out a written lecture. In this lecture, what I'll try to provoke your mind that terrorism is not merely a political kind of trouble for us. It is a social issue, and let's try to understand that Pakistan as a state not only kind of promotes terrorism. Pakistan society has a fundamental role in breeding, nurturing, and celebrating terrorism. Okay? In this, with this note, let me read out my lecture because I have only 8 minutes. Good evening, everyone. Let me begin by thanking Team Prasthutha. Basically, it is 2 young men who have been, I've been working with them in various platforms, and IISc Alumni Association for organizing this very timely and very important event on Operation Sindoor success and beyond. It is indeed a privilege for me to be associated with such beautiful minds, arguably the talented ones in this country, and to share some thoughts on terrorism and how we can actually look beyond Operation Sindoor in actually dealing with this kind of inhuman kind of forces. In the brief time I have, I'll speak on a theme that often remains underexplored, the social roots of terrorism in Pakistan, a subject that needs more attention as we look beyond the tactical success of Operation Sindoor. And Sir was mentioning just before me that we have actually fought multiple wars before this Operation Sindoor. And why terrorism as a subject becomes even more important during this time, because in the earlier wars, we were given to believe that Pakistan as a state, which had no business with the so-called non-state actors, was fighting with India as a state. That was a bluff, and it was actually told us to be believed. Okay? But this is for the first time we saw that the terrorists, the army generals, and the politicians actually standing together to pay homage to so-called martyrs and those who are terrorists that were killed by our kind of operation. So let me first start with the Operation Sindoor marked a decisive shift in India's counter-terrorism approach. Unlike the past, when I'm talking about the past, I'm actually hinting at one particular incident, one particular terror incident, that is the Mumbai, where we limited ourselves to diplomatic notes and dossiers. The Operation Sindoor struck at the core of Pakistan's military terror nexus, It paralyzed the terror infrastructure, and more importantly, it challenged Pakistan's moral and diplomatic standing in the international community. Yet, while we recognize this as a strategic success, we must also ask, will this operation lead to a long-term deterrence? Will Pakistan change its behavior? Has it stopped breeding terrorism? Unfortunately, the answer is a loud no. The deeper issues lies in the social legitimacy of terrorism in Pakistan. To understand why, we must move beyond viewing terrorism in Pakistan as merely a function of a state policy. We must examine the social legitimacy that violence enjoys within sections of Pakistan society, and this section is very, very substantial. Terrorism in Pakistan has a deeply entrenched social base. It is not only state-sponsored, it is also socially sanctioned, culturally nurtured, and in many cases, religiously glorified. The social root of terrorism is rarely addressed, largely because I'm talking about my class, the so-called academic ones, okay? Because doing so is politically sensitive. Look at certain European countries. In the process of being politically correct, okay, they are going to lose their identity as one section of the community has actually taken over, right? And doing so is politically sensitive, and for some, it is academically inconvenient. Many scholars shy away from exploring this domain for the fear of being seen as a politically incorrect. As a result, policy remains merely reactive and at the surface level. Let me now outline three key pillars that sustain terrorism socially in Pakistan. One is the religious radicalization. Violence in the name of religion is not just tolerated, it is often celebrated in Pakistan. The state uses terrorism as a policy tool, but the society offers it legitimacy. Okay, let's remember the so-called field marshal. We had, Maneksha as the field marshal, you can have a comparison. Now the self-given kind of field marshal of Pakistan, where say Pakistanis and the Hindus are fundamentally different. And he's absolutely right. Terrorists and civilized human beings are fundamentally different. Okay. Let me highlight. Okay, this is just not a rhetoric. The entire Pakistan society, I tell this with full authority, that it believes. It is just not rhetoric, it echoes deeply in the social attitude. In 2024 Pahalgam attack, 2025 Pahalgam attack, where the terrorists targeted the victims based on the religion, this reflects the deeply communalized mindset. The second, the most very important kind of an instrument of social roots of terrorism is the madrasa education. Estimates suggest that Pakistan has between 17,000 to 40,000 madrasas. 17,000 as the official record. This is registered. This is from my study in the madrasa education and the national security, with nearly 2.2 million students. This is official figure. Okay, my estimation is more than 5 million kind of, now 3 million students are actually studying in the madrasas of Pakistan. These religious seminaries are not only simply so-called, educational institutions, they are also recruitment grounds for extremist ideologies. This becomes more alarming when placed against the backdrop of 22.8 million children being out of the school in Pakistan. This is the second highest in the world. Okay, and the age group is between 6 to 15. And this is the prime age where you can tell them, how certain religion is superior to all other religions put together in the world. When the mainstream education fails, radical elements and radical alternatives flourish. The third important point that I want to make here is the normalization of violence, especially within the familial and the gender structure, is another concerning trend. Sandana Guljar Khan, who runs a foundation called War on Rape Movement, recently actually reported that 82% of the rape cases in Pakistan, the perpetrators are family members, who are their fathers, Can you think in our society, fathers raping their daughters? Fathers, brothers, uncles, grandfathers. And many of these cases are shielded by radical clerics, creating a culture where violence is morally unaccountable. In fact, they take pride in raping their own women. Such conditions provide fertile ground for broader extremist ideologies to thrive. When you have such a social base which actually, believes in violence, legitimizes violence, India is seen as a civilizational order. In this worldview, India is just not a political enemy. This is a civilizational adversary. The conflict is not merely territorial, but ideological and civilizational. Just 1 minute. The target is not just the Indian state, but Indian pluralism, Hindu identity, and inclusive democracy. Anti-India sentiment in Pakistan is often interchangeable with anti-Hindu rhetoric. Indo-phobic became Hindu-phobic. And this civilizational framing of enmity feeds a cycle where terrorism is not seen as a crime, but as a religious duty. The recent incident of Pakistani, this is very, very important. Now you will remember that one Pakistani cricketer attempting to convert a Sri Lankan cricketer in the cricket ground, saying that how when you surrender to Islam, you go to Jannah, right? And publicly, or the celebration of terror as acts in public discourse indicate that radicalization is not marginal, it is mainstream. In the conclusion, moving beyond, what is beyond Operation Sindoor, let me tell you, yes, hard military responses are critical, and Operation Sindoor has proved our capabilities. But lasting success will depend on our ability to delegitimize the radical ideologies that sustain terrorism at the societal level. We must also call upon our academic and policy communities to speak truth to power. Terrorism is not just a military problem, it is a social disease. Countering it requires intellectual courage and cultural clarity. Let us support our armed forces, not just with weapons, but with narratives grounded in truth, research unafraid of ideology, and policies informed by social roots of violence. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Professor Anshuman Behera, for such a nuanced and eye-opening perspective. It truly has given us a lot to reflect on. Now, before we move forward, let's take a moment to witness the might of our Indian Armed Forces. A powerful glimpse into the Indian Army's resolve post-Operation Sindoor and the Indian Air Force soaring high, set to the steering call of Aram Heberchand.
कि तुम हार दो। मान मान शान या की नाम का उदान आज इस धनुष के बाण पे उतार दो। आरंभ है प्रचंड करे सो प्राण दे, जो मन करे सो प्राण ले, वही तो एक सर्वशक्तिमान है। मन करे सो प्राण दे, जो मन करे सो प्राण ले, वही तो एक सर्वशक्तिमान है। विश्व की पुकार है, ये भागवत का सार है कि युद्ध ही तो वीर का प्रमाण है। कौरवों की भीड़ हो या पांडवों का नीड़ हो, जो लड़ सका है वो ही तो महान है।
This time in Pakistan, there take any action. In Pakistan knows it, what we are doing.
वचन नहीं तूने माना, मैं का मुझे पहचाना, तो मैं भी अब जाता हूँ, संकल्प सुनाता हूँ, दिया बना नहीं अब सब होगा, जीवन है या जीवन होगा, टकराएंगे नहीं कभी ऊपर बड़ी हर
Our next speaker, Shri Ravi Iyer is an accomplished engineer and lifelong ambassador of Indian culture. Having worked across Hong Kong, Bangkok and Sydney for 36 years, he has traveled to 45 countries conducting over 1,000 workshops on Vedic mathematics, yoga and Indian heritage at global universities and cultural forums. He has addressed TEDx and the British Royal Society and authored 6 books, including one on yoga with a message from PM Narendra Modi and Indian heroism in Israel, which deepened India-Israel ties. Raviji played a key role in renaming Teen Murti Haifa Chowk and in erecting monuments to Indian heroes in Singapore and Sydney, preserving our legacy across continents. Please welcome Shri Ravi Iyer as he speaks on the geopolitical impact of Operation Sindoor. I would also like to invite the volunteers for Swagatam of Shri Ravi Iyer.
I am not able to speak because of a throat problem that arose yesterday. यारी में गद्दारी नहीं और गद्दारों से यारी नहीं। यारी में गद्दारी नहीं, गद्दारों से यारी नहीं। What was the first time when India defeated Pakistan? According to Pakistan, Pakistan was created in the year 712 AD, you may call CE, not on 14th of August 1947. 712, when Muhammad bin Qasim attacked Sindh, that is their starting point of their history. And just as we have several Kannadigas who made 2015 a great victory. The first defeat, India defeated Pakistan in the year 1178 was again by a Maharani of Karnataka. Not many of us know, not many of the historians know that Muhammad Ghori was defeated by a Kannadiga lady, her name Nayaki Devi, and she belongs to the Kadamba dynasty of Mayura Sharma of You have to connect various dots to arrive at what I have said, but I have given you enough clue to get how can you bring this into the history books of at least Karnataka and then into the history books of Bharat and to the world. One more great thing, after I have been speaking about Nayaki Devi in Gujarat, a Gujarati movie has come in the name of Nayaki Devi. And then Nayaki Devi defeated Muhammad Ghori at that time. She was married to the king of Gujarat. That's how Kannadiga queen from here to Goa. She was born in Goa, and from there she goes to Gujarat. And there I spoke to the chief minister of Gujarat and said, the Nayaki Devi is not just the pride of Gujarat, because he is going to erect a statue for her. I said, beyond that you must have something similar to Nobel Prize on women empowerment, because to the knowledge that I have about world history, she is the first lady in the world under whose leadership several kings of Rajasthan and Gujarat fought under her. That is the power of Indian womanhood. When I first wrote a book on Indian heroism in Israel, that is about Haifa War, many people in the military refused to accept it. But now Haifa War is accepted by the military and my book is read there. Thanks to Udaya, it has gone to great heights now. More people are aware of the Haifa battle. We need one more Savarkar among you who will tell when he wrote 100 years before a book called 6 Golden Chapters in Indian History, 2005 also should be written a book on that, the Golden Chapters of Indian History. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shri Ravi Iyer, for offering a global and cultural lens on the geopolitical impact of Operation Sindoor. Our next speaker is a decorated officer who has made path-breaking contributions to India's aerial warfare capabilities. Air Vice Marshal K.N. Santosh, Vishesh Seva Medal awardee, was commissioned into the Aeronautical Engineering branch.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, before the slide comes on, it's an absolute honor to be standing here this evening. And I just came out of the Air Force on 31st of December 2024, after 37 years of service. And before I start my talk, I would like to say that I wish I was part of these operations that went on very recently. So what I talk to you today is about technology, and I'll restrict myself to this 10 minutes that is given to me. And I'm going to tell you a few use cases of what really happened behind the scene and how something that people thought of, the veterans, it's not that this technology has grown within about 1 year and 2 years. It's actually, the concept would have come about a decade back. The implementation happened about 5 years back. And frankly speaking, I was very lucky to be part of the implementation. And to see the technology come to use in an actual operational scenario, that is what gives me immense pleasure to be standing here and talking to you all this evening. There's one very famous gentleman called Dr. Murphy. He visits at the wrong time always, and this is how it is. Okay, let's not bother too much about the slides here. Now what I want to talk today is that this particular war of Sindoor, the success behind this war has been really about a concept called innovation. And it's really not about the weapon systems that we hold, it's really not about the costly weapon systems that we buy. To me personally, it's about what we are able to design, develop, and take it to a maturity within our country. So probably, the lessons learned in this particular war is that the systems that we were able to develop within our country really came of good use to us. Next slide. When I read this, ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal performance of Indian weapon systems of Sindoor, this is actually what was there in the newspaper. And that, to me, the speakers before me have told, it is the real success of IISc. And thanks to the government for whatever they are doing in the last decade and plus, this concept is what is going to take this country forward. And as I run through my presentation, I will keep emphasizing on the fact that we need to have more and more of this happening in our country. We need to shelve the haste with which we go out to adopt technology from outside. If today Su-57 is being offered to us, or F-35 is going to be offered to us, we need to really think with, very, very, very strong mind as to what is it that we are going to get out of these weapon systems. I would rather prefer an LCA with my own weapon system getting matured today, and well, this is just to tell you, I call it the PQRS of warfare. And this is where probably the first war where the synergy between the three services have really come to play. Everybody was given a task, and the task was given to the person, and you were told this is exactly the task that you're supposed to do. So if you really look at the role played by the Air Force, it was very precise. We knew exactly what was to be done. The mandate was given, and exactly that was done. Nothing more, nothing less. And what really comes out of the air part is the quantum of weapon system that can be delivered in one go. The range at which you can probably take on your target. Because for those of you who don't know, the weapon system that were delivered from the aircraft was well beyond visual range. It really did not have to go into the Pakistan territory. It's history, obviously, that we have lost a few weapon systems, but I'm not going to talk about that. But what really matters is delivering the weapon system to the designated place and taking out the target there. And most importantly, this is a surprise. the timing with which we are able to deliver the weapon system is what is very important. It just happens by minutes, by seconds, and that is what probably won the war for us. Next slide. For those of you who are academically oriented, I've just taken a word called proposition. For those, how do I draw a relationship between two English phrases? They call it proposition, right? And that is what discrete mathematics is all about. My proposition today is indigenization and innovation. To me, these cannot be different. And mathematically put, if both are true, then success is true. If either one of them is false, then success is not there. Next slide. Well, somebody asked me, what is innovation all about? Does it happen overnight? Does it happen with some kind of thinking that happens on the board? Yes. Weaponization is about increasing the lethality of the system that you already have with you. Weaponization is increasing the efficiency with which you use a weapon system. Weaponization is to improve the transparency. Now, this is one phrase that I want to be a little bit more with. Everybody, be it the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, should know what the weapon system that is held within the three forces are capable of. The three forces would ideally should know that each one of them have a role to play, and a particular weapon system that is available with them is what is going to achieve the role. The next thing is about the flexibility with which we can operate with air power. Air power offers you tremendous flexibility. You are given a task, and within minutes you are able to achieve the task that is being assigned to you. So it is also important to know at what point of time in the war the air power is required to be utilized. And the last thing is, to me, the lines of traditional warfare is blurring today. Probably what is worrying me is when I see what has happened at Ukraine very recently, the use of drones today have made it so very dangerous today that, we sitting here inside the Satish Dhawan auditorium, we cannot be sure that there's something that is going to happen in the next 30 seconds outside. So is war going to be fought like this? The answer is yes. How do I counter this kind of a war? The answer is through innovation. Next slide. Well, there are two systems that really made the difference for the air power application in the Indian Air Force. The first system is what we call as the Integrated Air Command and Control System. This is a completely homegrown system which is designed and developed by the armed forces in collaboration with Bharat Electronics. And the success of the system today ensures that any track that moves within the Indian airspace is tracked to the last bit, and you're aware as to which track it is, what is the role of the track, and what is the intended action that the track is going to take. I have a slide which I will not probably show. People also spoke about Akash Tir. Akash Tir is also the air defense element of the Army. There is an equivalent element in the Navy called Trigun. The end result is to get these three systems put together so that the national body, which is sitting at probably the parliament today, if there is a decision-making body, he or she would have a common operating picture which would allow them to take a decision as to which portion of the war has to be taken by which kind of a thing, whether it's the air, sea or land. And the second aspect that I would like to tell people who are academically oriented is we developed something called as a TEWA, T-E-W-A. This is called as a Threat Evaluation and Weapon Assignment. This is an algorithm which was developed with application of artificial intelligence. You had game theory application, you had trend analysis, you had a lot of things going on there. Very put in small words, this particular module would allow a weapon system which is probably sitting in Andaman Nicobar Island to be assigned to a target which is probably sitting in Srinagar. I'm just drawing the kind of a parlance that is possible, which means automatically, depending on the lethality of the target, depending on the time available, the entire weapon system within the country can be assigned to a particular target system across. So this also was developed in-house. So to me, this particular development was a complete innovation. It happened over a period of about 10 years. It happened with a lot of thinking, and today it's a completely mature product which we can take pride of. The second aspect is BrahMos. Ladies and gentlemen, I was involved in the integration of BrahMos in the much later stage, and the integration on Su-30 was at one point of time told by the Russian side that it is not possible to integrate this weapon system on the platform. The reason given to us was that it was a 2-ton load on Su-30 or a 2.45-ton load on Su-30 is a strict no-no. They were think tanks, they were stalwarts. I would like to call somebody like Dr. Shivran Pillai, who was probably the man who really conceptualized BrahMos, and thereafter a lot of people. The entire integration was done with effort from the Indian scientists, the Indian Armed Forces, and the Indian laboratories put together. There's so many people who are involved in this. It was opened here in IISc during BrahMos itself. That Center of Excellence is today doing wonderfully well. I have not had the chance to interact with them. Probably a hypersonic BrahMos missile is there in the near future with what is happening. So the academia also came in very well, and this kind of a technology, to me, is what innovation is all about. There are a lot of things that have happened with integrated operations. Yes, for the first time ever, 37 years, I realized that the synergy between the three forces was there to see, and people knew exactly what their role was. So the war was fought in the way a war is supposed to be fought, and I was just talking to the gentleman next to me. Yes, whether the final outcome meets the requirement of the country. Personally, I am not qualified enough to comment on this, because there probably is somebody at the national level who takes a decision and tells us that yes, this was the mandate given and this is what has been achieved by the war. Next. This is the slide which I just wanted to show to you. The complete operational level air defense control system has got input from the Army, from the Navy, and from the Air Force. It is linked as far as Andaman Nicobar Island is concerned. So this is a completely indigenized project, and it has come through total work from India. Well, this is where I would like to probably spend a minute and a half. What is the future? To me, continuous innovation is the order of the day. We really just cannot stop short of calling that, we acquire a technology and say that technology is going to serve good for us for the next 5 years. No. We need to build up on the technology. And the classical example is the LCA design development that is probably happening. I also feel good if the Kaveri engine, the process is revived and it's taken to completion. Because we need to get an engine that will support our aircraft, D&D work in the country. We really cannot rely on somebody to give us an engine. He puts the rush tomorrow morning and then we have left some. Increased interaction between academia and industry. A few lines here. When I was doing the ISCCS project, we had interaction with IIT Chennai, we had interaction with IIT Kanpur. The concepts that we were looking at is for those people who are AI experts here, came
मैं की राह बताने को सबको समाज पर लाने को दुर्योधन को समझाने को भीषण विध्वंस बचाने को भगवान हस्तिनापुर आए पांडव का संदेशा लाए तो न्याय अगर तो आधा दो पर किसी पे भी यदि बाधा हो तो दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम रखो अपनी धरती तमाम हम बड़ी खुशी से खाएंगे परिजन पर हंसी न उठाएंगे दुर्योधन वह भी दे न सका आशीष समाज की ले न सका
So there is high tea just outside the door. I request you all to grab your tea or coffee, as we have Lieutenant General waiting for us. So grab your tea and coffee and come back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
I request everyone to please settle down. I request everyone to please settle down. Now we will be calling our next speaker.
Sir, please have seat.
humble request, please go to the seats. We are starting the program, so we have 3 more good talks. And we will miss the talks.
So it's time we call our next speaker, Professor P.C. Deshmukh. He is a theoretical atomic physicist who looks at the actualities of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and China-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as the unfinished 3-year struggle of Bharat. His petition submitted a quarter of a century ago, seeking the application of Article 317 has been a significant factor in generating awareness about the Kashmir in Province. It is available on his website IIScBengaluru.org, of which he is the convener. Professor Deshmukh served for over 3 decades at the IIT Madras. Presently, he looks after the Center for Atomic, Molecular, Optical Sciences and Technologies, set up jointly at the IIT and IISc Tirupati. Concurrently, he is the RV Chair Professor at the RV University, Bengaluru. Professor Deshmukh's research group is one of the major contributors to the study of ultra-fast electron dynamics in atomic and molecular systems. Today, he will be speaking on a subject that bridges civilizational history with a strategic foresight. His talk is titled History's Lessons for the Ongoing Operation Sindoor. Please join me in welcoming Professor P.C. Deshmukh to this talk.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. It is such a thrilling afternoon over here, and I'm really very privileged to be amid our heroes. It is a great privilege to be among our heroes and other scholars who have given us deep insight into what is happening at the borders, which is why we are able to stay peacefully inside the country. I would like to, is my presentation up? I can see it there but not here. I think Dr. Marshal is still working. There you go. Thank you. So I will speak about some of the lessons which are about Operation Sindoor, which we must remember as we celebrate our success in this operation, which is, as was said earlier, 200% success or even more. But then there are lessons to remember. And the most important thing to remember is that it is not over. Let me go to the next slide. So this is the situation we are looking at. This is the actuality of Jammu and Kashmir, which is why I consider the actual situation in Jammu and Kashmir consisting of the Pakistan-occupied territory and the China-occupied territory as the unfinished freedom struggle. 80 to 90,000 square kilometers have been occupied by Pakistan. 44,000 square kilometers occupied by China. These are approximate numbers. Look at the distances from north to south. The Pakistan occupied territory is almost 600 kilometers. Gilgit and Skardu, which are both parts of India, both parts of Bharat, are separated by 200 kilometers approximately. And when terrorists come inside Jammu and Kashmir and carry out attacks at places like Poonch, Srinagar, Kupwara, Kargil, and so on, this is very much away from the international border and quite inside even from the line of control. Let me go to the next slide. We are talking about 22nd April, the Pahalgam attack. Dharam पूछ के हत्या की गई. But when we talk about Dharam, we must remember Dharam as defined by Shri Krishna himself in Mahabharata. And he says that it comes from the root dhru, jisse other words like dharati and so on are also come. So Dharam is really the root which holds the society together. That is what Dharam is about. And it has nothing to do with what we colloquially talk and refer to as religion. Now there are, of course, Hindus were killed, but let's not forget that there are large number of Muslims in India. We have the third largest Muslim population, not much behind Pakistan, which has 230 million, and the highest are in Indonesia, which are just a little bit more. And these Muslims also have a duty to protect Dharam. They are a part of our country, and we have to take them to participate in developing India, in developing Bharat towards Vikasit Bharat. They must be an integral part of this process. Let me go to the next. It is not that Pakistanis always carried out atrocities against Hindus. They carried out atrocities against Muslims in Bangladesh, as we know. And here is a quotation right from a memorandum which was submitted by 14 Muslim scholars to the United Nations in 1951. And these were very eminent scholars. They included Dr. Zakir Hussain, who we all know. He was at that time the Vice Chancellor of Aligarh University. And what they wrote to the United Nations about Pakistan's atrocities carried out in Jammu and Kashmir, it is a strange commentary on political beliefs that the same Muslims of Pakistan who want the Muslims of Kashmir to join them invaded the state in October 1947, killing and plundering Muslims in the state and dishonoring the Muslim women, all in the interest of what they described as the liberation of Muslims in the state. Now, here is a lesson from history. Now, if we don't remind the Muslim population of Jammu and Kashmir about what was done to their grandparents in their own families, if we do not remind them, if we don't even tell them, and this is where awareness has to be generated. These children who were pelting stones and so on, these things have happened in their own families, but they don't know. And it is our job to let them know what it is. Let me go to the next slide. There, of course, are patriotic Muslims, even in our army. But let me tell you about patriotic Muslims who are beyond the line of control. Here is a list of names: Alias Ahmad, Jamshid Ahmad, Muslim Jan, and so on. So what the ISI does is to drive these young children who are first sent to madrasas and so on, and then they are given some money. But not everybody becomes a victim to this. These are the names of people who refused to follow the orders of ISI, and they were actually killed by ISI because they did not join terrorism as they were asked to. Let me go to the next slide. We are looking at extremely brutal people. Perhaps know about this. Captain Saurav Kalia and 5 soldiers in the Kaskar sector, they were held captive, tortured for 22 days, and their mutilated bodies were returned on June 9. Now, the reason I recall this is because even as we celebrate our success at Operation Sindoor, we should know as to what can still happen. Let me go to the next slide. In 2000, Sepoy Bhau Sahib Maruti Talekar and 7 of his fellow soldiers, he was beheaded. And they took his head back, played football with his head. These are horrible people. And this person who led that operation, IISc Kashmiri, he was honored by the Pakistan's then President General Pervez Musharraf, who gave him 1 lakh rupees as a prize for this. Next slide, please. Hemraj Singh, also beheaded. But let me tell you something which happened after Hemraj Singh's beheading. He came from a village, Shernagar, in Mathura district, and a delegation led by a BJP delegation visited this. This was 2013. Next slide, please. Rajnath Singh ji, who is our defense minister, he said that 10 soldiers of Pakistan army would be beheaded to avenge the death of 1 Indian soldier. So we are inspired by this spirit. But if it doesn't happen, then what will follow is another Operation Sindoor, another Pahalgam. Next slide, please. This is Uri. This happened on the 18th September 2016, and 11 days later, we carried out surgical strikes with great precision, tremendous success. We celebrated it. A movie came out just 3 years later in 2019, and we were enjoying it. But let me remind you again a lesson from history as to what happened, not just after Uri, not just after surgical strikes. Let me go to the next slide. 30 days after the surgical strikes, Mandeep Singh was killed and beheaded. The picture that you see is again one of our betis who lost her son. Next slide, please. 3 weeks later, after Mandeep Singh, 3 of these soldiers were killed, again beheaded. The picture that you see is Rifleman Prabhu Singh. He was one of them. So even as we successfully carried out the surgical strikes, these things have happened. Just few days, 30 days after surgical strikes, 3 weeks after that. And this is something which we must never forget. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. धर्म पूछ के सिर्फ 22 अप्रैल को नहीं मारा, 11 अप्रैल को भी हत्या हुई. This was also धर्म पूछ के. Hargovind Das and Chandan Das, they were killed just because they were Hindus. This was in Murshidabad. Lessons to be remembered. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Professor Deshmukh. Our next speaker is a scientist whose work has shaped the future of aerospace and defense in India. Professor Jagadeesh Gopalan is a senior professor in the Department of Aerospace Engineering at IISc and the founding chairman of Center of Excellence in Hypersonics, a globally recognized leader in hypersonic, aerothermodynamic and shockwave research.
Ladies and gentlemen, looking at such an august audience, I am only reminded of a famous song from Saint Tyagaraja. Enduno Mahanubhavu, మీ అందరికీ నా వందనం. It should be said that there are so many people of eminence in this audience and I bow my head in reverence. Ladies and gentlemen, today it appears to be a very special day for several reasons. The simple people like us who try to do our own research in the laboratories of this wonderful institution, Indian Institute of Science. We are all here because somebody has pointed out that there is someone who is calling us in the border. From the bottom of my heart, I reverentially go to all the armed officers who are actually calling us not just because of Operation Sindoor, day in and day out. Even my elder brother was in Indian Navy. Friends, what I will do, I will only take 8 minutes because I don't want a cheat from you. I am very much aware of that. Because we are all waiting to hear from General Thing. I want to take you back into a slightly different topic today. On science and technology and its role, probably the organizer said in war, but I thought in nation building could be a very broad title. Yes, for a nation to be strong, nation to be really admired and accepted in the comity of nation needs to be strong. Yes, of course, we have to wage war when the situation demands. And that is what happened in the recent time, where we were all very proud of what our soldiers did to guard the honor of this great nation, Bharat. It appears once the Lord was actually walking around in the sky along with an angel. He was pointing out to different parts of this universe, different parts of the world. He pointed out to the United States and said, hey, this is a wonderful nation, United States. They are very advanced in technology, but I have made people very insecure. Then he pointed out to Russia and said that this is a technologically advanced state. They can reach the moon, they can do wonders, but then they are not very happy about their neighborhood. So many things. Finally, when he came towards India, it appears the God said, this is my pet nation. This is so wonderful. We have all the rivers, all the wonderful mountains, wonderful biodiversity. Everything God was saying was so wonderful. The angel got very impatient and said, God, for every other country you said there was some negative. How is it for India? Everything is positive. God remarked, look at their neighbors. That appears to be our occupational hazard, why we were born as a great nation, Bharat. We may have to really live with it for a long time. Go to the next slide, please. Professors usually come and give talks like this, but please remember, in Indian Institute of Science, our students are our guides in real sense. IISc is what it is today. We have had because wonderful students like Dr. Pahalgam and Prof. Shankar passed out from the portals of this great institution. And it is they who actually teach us, and we continue to learn from our students. I think people did talk about the role of Mysore Maharaja in the beginning. But having come from a Mysore district, I want to draw your attention to the name of this wonderful lady, if you have not heard, Maharani Kemparajamani Vani Vilas Pradhana. She was the mother of Nagodi Krishraj Udaya. When IISc came into being, Nagodi Krishraj Udaya was only 9 years old. The entire decision making is actually made by this great noble queen. You will be surprised to know that it is this queen who actually built the India's first Urdu primary school in 1920 for the girls, inspired by few girls who were actually playing around the Tanga station in Mysore. It was a remarkable name. But I want to cut this long story short. I'm sure most of you would have heard. I was actually fortunate to pick up the original letter written by J.N. Tata to Swami Vivekananda. And go to the next slide, please. There was one very interesting thing. If you have not read this letter, I would urge you to read. And Prabhupada Bharata carried a wonderful article on this, where it appears J.N. Tata was asked by Swami Vivekananda, what brings you on this journey? Swamiji seems to have said, I am actually going to the Western world to get steel making technology. I want you to watch these words. Swamiji, the great monk, seems to have remarked, Westerners may give you technology, but who will teach you material science? Probably that inspired, in fact, J.N. Tata writes, you would recall our own association, and he comes back, probably thinks about starting an institution where ancient aesthetics merges seamlessly with modern science. IISc is a very special place, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, go to the previous slide. I also showed the photograph of Mysore sandal soap there. The soap making formula for Mysore sandal soap was actually from the chemistry department from IISc. In the 1930s. Innovations have happened all through the generations. Probably this is one place which believes Achar, Vichar, Prachar and Sanskar could be 25%, so that we don't really do anything over-amplified. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. I think this question has been asked to me in several forums. In fact, in recent, about 8 months back when there was a panel discussion, there was a lot of heated debate where they said Army is doing that, DRDL is not doing, DRDO is not doing that. I, as a small academician sitting there, I said, you will know the worth of DRDO or Indian Armed Forces only when there is a war. People felt, why are you saying this as a peace-loving academic? I said, how else will you validate the technology and how else will you validate the wonderful work the armed forces will do only when there is a threat? In fact, this entire success of Operation Sindoor to me is actually to those great scientists of defense scientists as well as the armed forces. You have the best technology, but then somebody will use it at the right time. In that sense, probably this is the first occasion of independence where everything has fallen in place. To me, science is almost like asking a question, why? It is like Brahmadeva. Brahmadeva is Srishtikarta. Unfortunately, nobody recognizes science. There are hardly 2 temples for Brahma in this great nation, Bharat. Because science is invisible. Science cannot be felt by the society. In science, you ask the question, why, and go and find answers to that. But then in engineering, you ask a question, why not? Engineering to me is more like Narayana. You have all kinds of avatars, including the Dashavatar to Swiggy and Zomato avatars. Then of course in technology, it's more like Shiva, where you don't ask any question. Because the day technology is born, it is bound to die. Occasionally, Shiva also opens the third eye, enemy will be destroyed, as it happened in the recent times. But friends, you must remember that in this wonderful game, you can click the next one, we are also in a very interesting period in the history where Industry 5.0 is sweeping through the entire world. We also need Ma Sharada for information where data is becoming important. We also need Krishna. When Ma Yashoda asked him to open the mouth, probably you saw all the 7 worlds. Data contains so much today. Go to the next one. So actually we are only talking about mass personalization today from mass production. This is a very, very tectonic shift in industrialization where every soldier would like to have some unique weapons when he wants to guard the nation. Everybody wants to have a mobile phone which is unique to him. People are actually becoming self-centered because of several disruptive technologies that the world is seeing, probably that it has not seen in the last 300 years. Go to the next one. Of course, click this one. There are several technologies there. Not get into the details. Go to the next one. I believe future war is going to hinge on only 3 aspects. What is the kind of resources you have, what information you have, and what kind of knowledge you have. This is universal. And this is why I say, this is very closely linked to the human existence. How is your Dehasthiti? How is your Manosthiti? How is your Atmasthiti will dictate the Paristhiti. It is very essential for us to really understand how society can basically shape up this wonderful synergy between mind, body and soul.
how technology, science and engineering can actually shape the future. Go to the next one. I'll just spend 2 minutes on hypersonics because this is one, yes, I could get that. I have a mobile phone, don't worry. I'm going at hypersonic speed. You talked about BrahMos, which was Mark II, which is about close to 1,000 kilometers per hour or 2,000 kilometers, but whereas here, we are talking about speed which is 2 kilometers per second, 6,000 kilometers per hour. Notwithstanding the Bangalore traffic which goes at 10 meters or 2 kilometers per hour. So these kind of weapons are today a reality. It's no longer a fiction because everybody is trying to build them. China in fact has a weapon which is already in their armory. In fact, for the first time, American Pentagon in the congressional briefing have agreed that the Chinese hypersonic glide missile traveled 44,000 kilometers around the world, was in the air for about 100 plus minutes. Nobody was able to even identify. No radar can detect it. It is high time that people look at hypersonics very seriously. Go to the next one. And in fact, a lot of investment has happened in this area in the last few years. In fact, so much that it's not about military, people are looking at even cargo transfer using hypersonic today. They all want to go anywhere in the world in 1.5 hours. That's the dream, where the speeds are going to become very critical. There are several engines, there are a lot of research that goes on here. I won't go into the details. This is a view of our lab, but I just spent a minute on this because there are a few people in the audience who have actually shaped what this lab is all about. In fact, several years ago when we started this lab, there were only 2 people. Initial investment was made from our own PF money. And I still remember in '95 when Dr. Kalam came to this lab. He in fact asked, show me a shock wave in a shock tunnel. Only then we will believe you can do such experiments in the laboratory for 1 millisecond. Of course, it took several decades of service. In fact, Dr. Pahalgam might recall, 2003 he gave a project here for 1 crore, which was a big amount in those days. We ended up building that facility and today it is actually contributing in a big way. Professor Ravi is in the audience. Dr. Kalam gave a check for 5 crores to our Associate Director, Professor Balakrishnan and Shivdana Pillai. They all coordinated to start a Center of Excellence here, where IISc had not even put up a proposal. Visionary leaders have actually contributed over the nation for many of these facilities. Go to the next one. Center of Excellence is trying to do several fundamental work on basic science, engineering and technology. India is not far off from realizing this. Go to the next one. There are several subsystems. I will not get into the science, but then science is very important. Please remember, ladies and gentlemen, without science there can be no building. It is the invisible foundation which actually builds technology. While army and everybody wants technology very fast, there is no 2 minutes Maggie that is available. Nothing will be available to you if you don't really spend the time on all of this. And there is one direction. Let's go to the next one. You could go to the next. This is that facility, sir, what was planned about 22 years ago. Today, this is one of the workhorses for doing several things. Go to the next one. Of course, you can click the movie. There are several subsystems here. I am just showing you a glimpse to say how science done in academic institution is going to be the fulcrum on which technologies can be built by this great nation, Bharat. And I urge we should do this in silence because silence is golden. Whenever something happens, it is for the armed forces and the decision makers to guard the nation. Go to the next one. It's okay, you can do it. Go to the next one. What happened? Okay. Anyway, I want you to share just 2 minutes. I'll take on one more slide and then close here. You can just click on it. Okay, technology will always create problem, but science will never create problem. And society wants always technology and not science. Go to the last one, I think. There are 2 more slides. Okay. Anyway, the few lessons that I want to share here is, while we talk about technology, one of the biggest problems that we really have, go to the next one. Next one. Click that thing, yes. You can click that first movie. This is to show that the scramjet engine work inside the engine. You can go to the next one. Forget the movie. You're not able to play. Go to the next one. Next. Yeah, just keep it here. I urge all the people who are in the decision making. India can make progress only when we work together. I think there is a strong need for a national directorate on hypersonics where armed forces can take the lead. This is a model, and US has invested close to $18 billion in the last 3 years. All of us have to come together from day one. Scientists, industrialists, startups, academicians, maybe policy makers with a single-minded effort. Maybe Bharat could be much better. Go to the next one. I just want to share with you this one slide where I believe what Operation Sindoor has taught us is we are very strongly merged in our own Vedanta. I am a big fan of Vedanta because Vedanta teaches you sadhana, seva, sangha, samyama, samskara. I think what each one of us have done in this country is this is what one has to do. Probably nation can actually go places. Go to the next one. In fact, I am very fond of this particular quotation what Vivekananda used to tell. We have talked about dharma, we have talked about religion, but to me the biggest USP of India or Bharat is spirituality. Science is a journey outward which understands the nature. Spirituality is a journey inward where you understand yourself. And the wonderful definition that Santosh used to say is, when you keep your eyes open, please think about what you can do for the world. When you close your eyes, you must be at peace with yourself. This is what Vedanta teaches us. If we can build a society like that, probably it would be much better. We are building some more, tools today where frostbite for the soldiers could be solved using shock waves, while hypersonic continues to drive us. There are some very interesting innovations where you can make the life of armed forces much better. I just like to end here by saying, it appears once a student went and asked the Guruji, I want to learn Bhagavad Gita. Guruji said it is 18 adhyaya. Then he said, I am in a fast world, I cannot recite 18 adhyaya. Please give me some short version because everybody wants shortened form today. Then he said, okay, can you learn one adhyaya? He said, no, one adhyaya also has got so many shlokas I cannot do. Then he said, can you at least learn one shloka? Then the student said, no, one shloka also has got 2 lines, it is very difficult. And the Guruji said, can you at least learn half a shloka? The entire Bhagavad Gita, the essence will be yours. The first shloka in Bhagavad Gita is, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kiva Kurvat Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra asked actually what is happening in Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetra, you just say, Kshetre Dharmam Kuru. Please do justice to the profession that you have taken. Student's job is to study very well and come up very well. Scientist's job is to do research. Everybody has done their job very well. That is why Bharat is great. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Jagadeesh Gopalan, for inspiring us with your trailblazing work in hypersonics and defense technology. Your words also filled the room with laughter. Now, it's time for our last speaker of the evening. From securing an all-India rank of 13 in the IIT entrance exam to walking away from it all to join the National Defence Academy in January 1982, our next speaker has lived what he humbly calls a full life. Lieutenant General Arun Anantanarayan, Param Vishesh Seva Medal, Youth Seva Medal, Sena Medal and Vishesh Seva Medal. Now in the Indian Army marked by courage, conviction and contribution at the highest levels. Shot and wounded multiple times in the line of duty, he has been decorated with multiple gallantry and distinguished service awards and held some of the most strategic positions in the Army, including Director General of Perspective Planning, Chief of Strategic Planning and Chief of Staff of a Command. But his journey didn't stop at retirement. Since June 2024, General Arun has taken on new roles as a short story writer, a university faculty member at 2 institutions, a strategic restructuring advisor, and a powerful voice in public discourse. He is a TEDx speaker, a multilingual podcast guest, a popular motivational speaker, and a senior leadership coach. Known for his unconventional and expansive thinking, deeply grounded in operational experience from the toughest terrain, Lieutenant General Arun brings to us a perspective that is not only deeply insightful but transformational. Today, he will be delivering his perspective on India's evolving defense strategy through his talk titled Strategic Approach in Operation Sindoor and Beyond. Over to you, sir.
Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Thank you for having waited so patiently. May I have my presentation, please? So while he looks for something that is not really there, I can have a presentation. Why don't I have a presentation? I have to speak what's in my mind. So, to the scientists and the technocrats in the audience, two such outstanding people. Over the last few weeks, I've had the pleasure of interacting with Dr. Udaya on numerous occasions, had a similar conversation in Chennai. You give us the power to do what we do. Without the technology that you harness, notwithstanding that it will fail sometimes, sir, and the science that powers that technology, we would be unable to fight a winning fight, a capable fight, a robust fight, a fight that is worthy of fighting. You give us all of that. I want to start by asking you, what is a nation and what is a country? Are we even aware? Geography defines countries. Boundaries define countries. What is it that makes a nation? It's the vision. It's the common purpose for which we live, exist, breathe. A culture must breathe that nationalism. That is when you will create a country. So who creates this country? Is it the teachers who teach us? Is it the blacksmith who gives us our smith works? Is it the doctor who treats us? Is it the nurse who provides the service? Is it our parents? Is it our scientists? Is it our carpenters? Is it our artists or musicians? Who makes this nation? My argument is very simple. Each of us and each of us in this audience and outside has a little stitch in this fabric that is called India. Now, what does nationhood actually create? It pours into this fabric that is India, the cement, the concrete and the steel that will make this fabric a nation. So here, all of you all combine together to make it happen. Who stands at the center of it all? You've spoken about that poor man and woman multiple occasions this evening. It is that soldier. It's the coldest climates of high altitude. How many of you all have been to 18,000 feet? How many of you all have stood outside at 54 degrees centigrade? And how many of you all have been shot 5 times? That is the number of times I have been shot. So I am at the pointed end of what you create. So therefore, sir, I've heard about your shockwave lab and I look forward to seeing it someday. This is what makes it happen. Day in, day out, it's that soldier who stands there and does his or her bidding. The soldier, sailor, the airman, they all do their bits. But that's not what I'm here to speak about. I had the occasion to keep you people informed. I mean, I have Dr. Pillai's word for it, so I can speak on his behalf. When the BrahMos was created, it was loosely inspired by the American Tomahawk, which at that point was the best missile of its category. Quite simply, what you saw, what the Chinese have, goes like that, parabolic, trajectory. The cruise missile goes flat, therefore can go faster. So currently, the BrahMos is the fastest missile of its category in the world. What you must know is all missiles have a circular error of probability, which means if I give this mic as the target, a circular error of probability is the missile will hit within 1 meter. If 1 meter is the circular error of probability. When the BrahMos was being designed, our Indian scientists said 1 meter, 0 meters. We will build a weapon which will go through the X on that exit board at the maximum range, and that is how it was built. Now the new version of BrahMos, which will hopefully come sooner rather than later, should fly at 7.5 times the speed of sound. And then it will remain as accurate as the current one.
And what is the best part is that it will not use the existing satellites, the American, Chinese, Japanese, our own satellites for navigation. It will read the map as it flies over the ground and go to the destination. For Pakistan, free delivery. So Operation Sindoor, everybody has spoken extensively. I have a few things to say. We've changed the benchmark on what happens with the terror incident. These are the strategic changes that have happened. I like to look at strategy very differently. I like to step back. In my job as the Chief of Strategy, my job was to look 25 years ahead. So to all those who work, teach and study at this institute, don't waste your damn time making a product which I'm going to use in the next 10 years. That product is already there in the market. I don't even like the word innovation. You know what I like? Creation. Create for me something that does not exist. Something that nobody anywhere in the world has written about. So you own the IP and thereafter we will sell it to the world. You talked of making money, sir. Good time to buy defense stocks. Please buy them. That's where we need to go. Create. But we have rewritten the code for reacting to a terror incident. This is a changed international order. In the 88 hours of conflict that unfolded, and in the aftermath of that conflict, how many other countries have stood by us? How many friends does India really have? I'm not going to leave these questions unanswered, but it's time we ask these questions. So I didn't coin it. It's coined a long time back in probably West Bengal, Ekla Chalo Re. So this is a journey you will undertake alone. You and I and we as a nation will undertake alone, and we have to be prepared for it. Will there be failures down the road? 100%. 100%. That is why we need to indigenize. People use the word innovate. I'm saying create. We don't make in India. Make in India sounds very small. We create in India. We design in India. We think in India. In the new international order, I'm arguing that it is probably time that India stop contributing to peacekeeping operations of the United Nations Security Council. If the current head of the subcommittee on Taliban's activities is chaired by a Pakistani delegate, if the subcommittee on terrorism appointed 2 weeks back has got the assistant chair as a Pakistani delegate, and the permanent 5 have stood quietly and watched this, we don't need to be part of that circus anymore. So the last time I went to college was in class 11. After class 11, I'm completely uneducated. Yes, I'm a soldier. That's what I've been all my life. This is all that I know. So we talked with the game theory. So the butterfly effect is commonly referred to in the game theory as this little butterfly which flaps its wings in Venezuela or somewhere in South America, which a few days later creates a tropical hurricane off the coast of Florida. Now, sir, India is that small butterfly. The only difference now is India is A, not a butterfly, B, not small anymore, and C, most importantly, it has the ability to control and predict where that hurricane will come and what the outcome of that hurricane will be. We must just be aware of it. So it's like that little kid who's grown muscles and is not yet sure how to show those muscles. We have the muscles, we should believe in ourselves. Our manufacturers, our inventors, our scientists, our academics, our brick and mortar industry, our software industry, we should just believe and have faith. I think the future will be shaped by this. The next war, 500%, is going to be a completely tech war. But the kind of soldier that you need has changed. And the tech has to come from us. Nobody is going to give us that high tech anymore. national power comprises multiple things. Multiple things. दोनों कान पकड़ो, both ears. But most of it all, national power is signaled by intent. Are you willing to exercise your power? You may have all the capacities. It's like you have a dozen Rottweilers or Dobermans in your house. If you keep them chained on a one meter leash, their area of influence is only going to be 1 meter. If you have a Rottweiler, unleash the Rottweiler. Put a board outside. Let that Rottweiler not go and harm innocent people. But anybody who dares to step into your house will take his head taken off by the Rottweiler. That intent has to be there. It has now started emerging. Has it emerged enough is a question so many young people have asked me in the intermissions. So that includes me myself, because I'm also 18. This is a question I have asked also. Because I think the country at large feels that the Sindoor 88 hours finished 6 hours early. Could we have had 2 more airstrikes? You must know that you can drop a bomb on a runway. That runway will be out of commission for 4 or 6 hours. Small jets can still fly around that crater. You want to take out a runway, you've got to take it out nice and proper. In a wrestling match, when you've got the opposing wrestler on the mat, that is not the time to show a white flag. The doors were open for us, we had an invitation in our hand. Should we have just pressed? I don't know. I'm tired and I'm as much a citizen as you. This is my question too, and it will keep getting asked, and as time goes by, we will get the answers. Obviously, all these decisions are taken at the highest level for a reason, and for a good, sane reason. But I'm a soldier. This is what I know, and this is how I will ask it. And I think you will ask it too in multiple forums. We have asked 3 speakers before me have asked that question. We will get the answers in decent time, but the willingness to use our power is something we've demonstrated. I think this will only grow robust as we go along. What did we gain out of Sindoor? Multiple things. Politically we gained so much. First is that the cost to Pakistan will be immense. It's called unacceptable punishment. Punitive deterrent, if you wish, in strategic terms. So you do something, I will punish you so hard that you will not be able to bear the cost. Chandamama coming or something used to come, and the dogs may bark, but the caravan goes on. Pakistan is an insignificant and minuscule competitor in what India wants to be the community of world nations. We should not waste our time with them. I think that message, this is the starting of that message. The younger people in the audience will actually live to see this message fructify. Those of us who are in the last quarter of our lives will see from somewhere else. Calibrated escalation, I think we've shown the world what calibrated escalation means. So for those in the audience who may not know, on the very first day, you had an option of doing everything, but you didn't do it. You just took out the terrorist strikes, camps, the 9 of them. Technically, if Pakistan had not responded, Sindoor would have finished there. But Pakistan responded the next day, to which there was a disproportionate response from our side. And with each strike of theirs, we lifted the weight of our attack. And the icing on the cake was what, sir, you worked on with Dr. Pillai and the delivered free BrahMos right at your doorstep. And that was the turning point. Because we had a lot more deployed. We had a lot more deployed in the Arabian Sea. We would have used all of them. Karachi would have been history. Imagine a giant hole in the globe where Karachi used to be. If that is the power that you are willing to create and display, and I am not saying use it on a whim, conceptually it has to be clear as to the conditions under which it will be used. Thereafter, sir, like you said, I don't need a bulletproof jacket anymore. Because you said all I need to do is to press a button and go. So that's something we've displayed. Inter-service synergy is not new. It's fashionable to speak about it. Inter-service synergy was outstanding in 71. Inter-service synergy has been great all the time. This time, because of what we see in the media, it's a little more visible than before. But I think this time it's been displayed beautifully because the marriage of different systems to achieve the same effect has been displayed, awesomely. Long-term consequences, we will probably now start building a new national security doctrine. It takes time to build. And then it takes time to procure for that, prepare for that, and train for that. But I think this seeds have been sown. We called out the nuclear blackmail nonsense. So, because the fact is today, it's not easy for a country just to use a nuclear weapon as a blackmail. They've done it for the last few years, since we both went nuclear. I think that bluff has been called because now we've identified a threshold. And within that threshold, we can keep doing this. And nobody is going to allow them to go nuclear. So, when you look at strategic vision, one thing that is very important is an end game. So when the game is over, you should know how the pawns on the chessboard lie. Before the first round was fired, I am sure we thought we knew. Sometimes there will be modifications along the way which you need to do, but your aim has to be very clear. The route to that aim may change, but that aim has to be very, very clear as to how is this conflict going to finish, and this is where I have an issue. Has it finished where we wanted it to finish, or have I been left wanting for a little more or something more? Does that something more have to only come from military prowess? Not at all, sir. Turkey and Azerbaijan must be banned. All things Turkey. These were two countries who publicly stated that they are friends of our enemy. By extrapolation, they become our enemies. Do we have the muscle to do it today? Yes, I was having a conversation with the chairman of one of the world's most valuable airline, and by far India's largest airline. And I was asking him when he's going to terminate his seat sharing agreement. He said it's a financial issue. Next day there was a dictate. No more financial issue. It's history. Otherwise your airline will be history. We travel by train. We will travel by train again. We got to believe these things because we have to do it ourselves. Nobody is going to do it. Immediate actions which we need to do. Intelligence. Why did this incident happen? How did it happen? Why was there no response for about 21.5 minutes after the first round was fired? Is this an intelligence failure? It's an intelligence lapse. Big one. Big one. Should be investigated, not to punish somebody. Please understand, investigations are never to punish somebody or to hold somebody responsible, not even if it is RCB stampede in Bangalore. The lesson is that nobody else should have to go through the same thing again. That is the lesson we need to take, not just to suspend something. That's not how it works. So that is the first thing. Second thing is, a lot of local support was there in the, I don't want to get into it, but to execute an operation of this nature, tremendous local support is required. From guidance and the line of control, to taking them to a village, to logistic sustenance, to getting them to carry a reconnaissance of the area which is to be engaged, how to move out from the target area. Once you move out, where do you dispose your weapons and how do you go? You take a bus, you take a train, we separate, we meet there, we don't meet, whatever else A, B, C. A lot of local support. Obviously we failed somewhere. We've not reached the hearts and minds of all the local people in that area. Somebody there is either not happy with us or not happy at all. That is something we need to fix going forward, because at the end of it, all of us wear this flag here. Worst will be if somebody needed for money, which is possible. So we need to analyze that very cleverly. International relations I have spoken about. We need to ensure that the TRF is banned. We need to ensure that Pakistan goes back on the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force. Is it likely to happen in the next 2 years? No, because Pakistan is now a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. So you have to find other ways to make this happen. We have to use everything at our disposal. Every means at our disposal. This is something we want to think as a country. UN Security Council, I've already spoken. Because, soft power will only take you so much. But the UN has tried to get Russia and Ukraine to back off from a war for the last 4 years. All the Western members are contributing to weapons there. Beautiful. And then they have the audacity to tell us to back off. Israel has been bombing the daylights out of the small Gaza Strip, which is smaller than Mysore. As crowded as Mysore, not smaller, as crowded. Or XSR. We need to be very conscious about where we play our cards and how we play. And there are enough wise people in the government who are doing it right. This is a citizen's perspective. Yep. Technology. We've seen what happened very recently in Russia. The Ukrainians smuggled drones into Russia in civil trucks with sliding roofs, with concealed wooden platforms. They went to designated places, the roofs opened, the sliding doors opened, took off, used Russian cell phone towers for guidance and communication, and bombed Russia 6,115 kilometers from the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, or probably 4,500 kilometers from the front line. That is the depth. Now, the weapon system is not new. What is new is the ability to think of new ways to use that weapon. This is where we need to encourage young minds to keep asking that question, sir, why? And then ask what next. So teachers have to allow kids to ask questions. Every question must be asked. Only then this culture will happen in our country and we become a nation. Overseas operational capability do we need to build? 100%. 100%. We need to strengthen it and we need to build more of it. Miscellaneous. Some issues. Militarily spectacular victory. Why are we shy of saying it loudly? It was a spectacular win by any counts. From conception to execution and the ceasefire, everything was exemplary in its planning and its conduct. This will be studied for a long, long time. Let's not be shy of saying it and celebrate it. Thank the Indian Institute of Science and Udaya sir, your organization, Mysore Lancers, for coming together and celebrating this. We need to improve the manner in which we communicate with people. Sir spoke of one general who said it was not a success. Our speakers who come and speak in public, today we are not even just watched by the local media, people across the world watch us in real time. So there should be no ambiguous statement. There should be no, I intended to say, but, however, therefore, I said. There should be absolutely no conflict in the way you use your words. We need professionals here. Everywhere we need professionals, as in here, we made a few mistakes down that route. Second mistake we made is we made these mistakes overseas. The first people to have been briefed should have been our parliament and our press. Ergo, our country. But that didn't happen. Now, information is coming to us in bits and pieces from all over the world. So that is something we could have handled better. I think it's a lesson and probably we will learn it. Democracy, communication, they've spoken about. Last bit, sir, I've spoken about Pakistan. We need to think a little bigger. Pakistan is not even a worthy opponent anymore. So, soldiers are not supposed to speak. Soldiers are supposed to fight. War is bloody. So you showed us, sir, 10 photographs of war. What did you expect? What did you think, sir? That I will go and wage a war and the Pakistani will give you a flower? What do you think we do? Not you, sir. I'm just saying. What do you think we do? War, I tell you what I have done. But I'm not going there. It's not about me. What I'm only saying, sir, war is bloody. No nation should go to war. Armies and armed forces do not exist to wage war. They exist to stop war from happening in the first place. This is the purpose of armed forces. Otherwise, sir, we will find not just destruction, but terrible destruction on both sides. Question is that the end game you want? Thank you, Jai Hind.
It is truly an honor to learn from you. Up next, a gripping tribute to India's paramilitary and special forces, featuring powerful visuals set to the fierce intensity of Ravi Charitra. This is the spirit of sacrifice, discipline, and unflinching courage.
These headphones have a better experience.
You all heard very stimulating talks by radio speakers. We have, again, amongst us, even though not only program, but we have Lieutenant General Sundaram of the DRDO, who also has seen through the various phases of the development of weapon systems in India, especially missile systems. He would like to say a few words on his perspective of Sindoor and also maybe sum up the various views expressed by the previous speakers. General Sundaram actually originally a mechanical engineer, and a road engineer. For example, in the young days, he was constructing roads in the Nepal region, but somehow army converted him into an electronics man and into a missile man, and then he grew up next only to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and he was his close associate, and he will tell us perspective and also sum up the whatever things have happened to him. General Sundaram, sir, please.
Sorry, I have to take some assistance. How many of you are born in 1935 or earlier? You have some of it. 35, 1935, 1935 or earlier. And 1935 or earlier, please. I was born in 1935. 90th year. 90th year. I am not as mobile or stable as I was even just a year ago. Need some help. I don't want to fall down and create trouble. But we have had excellent talks today. When Radha asked me to speak, I had intention to speak just for about 3-4 minutes and finish the job I had in mind. But having heard so many people, like Shankar, like General Arun, and so many of you, I think I have taken a little longer, and I have taken the President's permission for that. Whether I am going to speak. I am a Mysorean. I was born in places like Chikmagalur, Davangere, Chitradurga, Mysore, Kolar, down the road, Bombay, Madras. I have studied in 10 schools, including a school from Edinburgh. I should have been a washout case. 10 schools for 10 classes? What it taught me was how to adapt and change. Learning Kannada, learning Tamil, learning Marathi, learning Telugu in Hyderabad, learning French in Edinburgh. And the better off for that. That's what I find. When I was in, my mother was both are doctors. Mother was in Johns Hopkins. And she was sent by the government. She was the first lady doctor from Mysore in the 1925s to become lady doctor. And she was sent to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore to study. We went there for Christmas holidays in Edinburgh. We were with a wonderful lady, Mrs. Lowry, grandmother, children, grandchildren. We stayed with her. I loved her. I grew to love her. Came back to UK. I was not eligible for applying the board exam in Scotland, which I wanted. They said, "You're too young. You're underage." I said, "Okay, I'll go back in India." But my school principal was different. He said, "No. You study for Oxford entrance exam." I studied. I qualified. Everybody thought I'd go to Oxford University. No. I came back to India and joined Mysore University. I'll tell you, Mrs. Lowry passed through India, and I spoke to her. "How are you, Mrs. Lowry? How was the beautiful house in which we stayed in Washington when we were there for the lighting up ceremony where Truman was present? He lighted it, and we were sitting as guests, his guests." Mrs. Lowry says, "They used to call me Babu. Sorry, Babu, we had to vacate that house because our neighbors objected to our having colored people as guests in our house." This was America for me in 1948. I said, "I am never coming back to this country. I'll either stay in India or do whatever I can." That decision was made when I was 13 years old. I don't come back to America if they're not going to respect colored people or Indians. Today Trump is there. Let him be. Anyway, we did this thing. UECI was there, quite happy, doing many things. My dream was to build atomic power stations in India, because Eisenhower had brought in this Atoms for Peace train. We all went on interview. Many of you would have gone to SSBs. I also went. Army selected me, and I knew the same day. Atomic Energy's interview came the day I was joining Dehradun. I attended the interview. I thought I won't get selected. I've done my quota of front rows, back rows, budgery packs and all. 2 months later, Atomic sends me this year selected. You will join the first course in the Bark School for Atomic Energy. It's too late. I was quite happy after the front rows and back rows. We passed out, got the first thing, got posted to EME. First posting was in J&K. You've seen many of the places here in the maps which are there. You saw Bimber, you saw Rajouri, you saw Nowshera. We are building the road there, parallel to the ceasefire line. Other side is Pakistan, we are on this side. I was in 25 Div. But we had enough excitement, because every man some shells will be lobbed at us, or some explosions would occur. We did that, saw the winter in Kashmir. Then we were moved posted for meeting summer in Rajasthan. General Arun asked how many of you have seen cold, how many have seen summer, have seen both. Then 14,000 feet over Sela, because we broke. We're building that road, border roads I was doing. And to Tawang, my workshop was at 12,000 feet. I was a mechanical engineer repairing bulldozers. But seeing what I could not do, I decided to learn electronics. I learned electronics. Again posted back to the same place, looking at now electronic equipment in the picket posts facing Pakistan. Okay. Then somewhere out of this thing, the army decided, let us send this fellow, he seems to be floating around, send him for missiles. So I did a missile course in IIT Pune. We had, yes, I'll take a few minutes, sorry. You'll have to wait. It will take a few minutes. So then, after the course, I was posted to DRDL. I was taken to a room, and they said, this is the room. Went in, saw the big missile. It was a SAM-2. The SAM-2 had brought down the U-2 of Gary Powers. Russians never thought it would be brought down. The SAM-2 brought it. Now, they gave it to India after a brilliant show in 1962 against the Chinese. Now, they were not giving us spares. I went to Delhi airport, and they said, we have got these spares. Most of them are not operational. I cannot defend Delhi. I cannot defend Madras. I cannot defend Bombay. I cannot defend Calcutta. Can you give us a feasibility report whether this can be indigenized? We gave a feasibility. You can go anywhere in India. 3 of us, we gave a feasibility. This can be done. Gave it to our director. He looked at it and he said, I was young majors then, you chaps think this project will be sanctioned? Go and cut everything by 50% to get the project sanctioned. I'm army. I obeyed. I went out. Did something about getting back. I got back. Told my director, sir, we are young. We may be wrong, but we believe we are right, and we are not changing the report. The director was an Air Commodore. He was furious. He told me, get lost. That means I'm finished. No more missiles for me. Next chance I get, I'll back in the borders. I was doing then I applied for ME in Institute here. ME, I did ME. I was in ISRO doing a final project. When I got a letter from the new director saying that report which you fellows gave 3.5 years ago has now been sanctioned by the government in toto. I want you to come back to DRDL. I'm running out of time, that's true. But they have to hear this, because this is important. I've learned this from Arun. I am out of time. I didn't plan. I had planned for 2 minutes. I am going much more than that because I listened to all of you, and I think you need to listen to this. And having done that, he said, now you put me off my line. But please do not interrupt me. Okay, so, what was I saying? I'm sorry, I get emotional. My wife is my fault. And anyway, I did it. He wrote to me, you come back. Then I told him, sir, I'm willing to come. But you have to ask the army, you have to ask the DRDO. And if I come back now, I come back permanently. And I went back and joined 39 Infantry Div in the north. In Utopia, your project will not take off. It will fail. All that was wrong. But I got my team from them. Then he said, these are my schedules. He put across a book to me. I said, Dr. Kalam, I pushed it back to him. And said, Dr. Kalam, I'll tell you after 1 month. I talked to a team, worked out our plans, and told them, I went back to Dr. Kalam and told them I'll do my first flight in 4.5 years, February 1988. 4.5 years? What will Delhi think? I said, I don't know about Delhi. I need 4.5 years. But he also said that given a date when it should be inducted into the army, I'll meet that. He accepted. I did it. But everybody told me I was a fool. The French offered a transfer of technology for a strapped ammunition navigation system. I rejected it in a chair. Again they said, you are a fool. You are an army fellow, landbar. What do you know about research? What do you know about design? What do you know about development? All these things were thrown at me. But I had to do 4.5 years. We made it work. And navigation system, Banerjee. I took him for a walk 6 o'clock in the morning in Lucknow. Banerjee, your team can do it. I will support you. Do you accept the challenge? Somebody said, I accept. I went to the control man. He had done the control of SLB3. Kadam, we went to the controls. No problem, sir. I have done it for SLB3. I'm making SLB. I'm doing my PSLB also. Kadam, tell me, is it digital or analog? Analog, sir. No, Kadam, I want digital. Digital I've never done. I want digital. So it will get delayed. We don't worry about it. I'll take care of that. But I agree that that's the correct thing to do now. Technologies have changed. Yes, sir, I agree. But I'll be late. I have to study. I accept. Then I went to the computer. Raman sir, payment is Chayala. Says, sir, sir, Viswa has done it. They are doing it for PSLB. tell me this, does it accept floating point or fixed point? Fixed point, sir. No, no, Raman, sir, I want floating point. It cannot handle the satellite vehicle is gentle. When you say it's a beast, I cannot tell you what is the minimum, what is the maximum. I want a floating point. So then it takes time. I'll go to it. Oh, I'll take time. Take it. I launched that in 4.5 minutes. When I launched that, people said, Sundaram, your team has worked hard. But इतना देसी समाज इसको किया है, इसको फेल होना ही है. In Tamil, they say, "No, there was not a single with Kalamas at the back." It went through. At the end, it stood up and shouted, "The funny guys, they have done it." That was the first step. I delivered the speech. I delivered the speech 1 year ahead of time. 1 year ahead of time. Army was not ready with their ships to receive the retreat from the product engines. So to make our mind and stand firm, and in all this, I used the institute, Bengal Engineering College, various academia, and I used industrial. We were doing parallel, like what Pahalgam told you. You see, we were doing parallel with industry, not separate, not sequential. It was in parallel. Mistakes were done. But Pahalgam, the fresh ship that came from Mysore, Bharati Bhatt. For me, the ship, I got a ship fabricated with the technology which is available to me in Calcutta from 1 micron. They did not give me. They don't give, I want the ship from Bangalore. They said, my chip was this big. They said, sir, if I do the imported one, it is only this much. They said, so what? Prithvi is 5 tons. Then the pitch is this much and this much makes no difference to me. It does the job. And it's more resistant to hacking. More resistant to other environmental things. And that computer has never failed. I was launched in 97. I agreed. Then my deputy Saraswat in the government doing Saraswat. Sir, Dr. Kalam has let you go. I have not agreed. I am your deputy. What Kalam? No, you have to Kalam whenever I call you. I will come. The last mission for Prithvi was in 2013. I was 78. After that, you allowed me to go.
This session brings together 4 distinguished personalities from Indian defense, strategic, scientific and political studies, individuals who have played pivotal roles in shaping national policy, indigenous innovation and India's global growth. Our esteemed panelists are Lieutenant General Arun, Shri Dr. Pranada Ramanao, Colonel H.S. Shankar, DSM, and Lieutenant General Sundaram. Bringing together decades of combined experience, their insights promise to offer that clarity and vision on time constraints, we will be moving both the panel discussion and Q&A session together, and we'll try to wrap it up within 30 minutes. This is your opportunity to directly engage with our esteemed panelists. Over the past couple of weeks, we have received several thoughtful and relevant questions through the registration form, and we also welcome any questions from the audience to this today. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the mic to reach you. Let's keep the question concise so that we can cover as many as possible in the time we have. To steer this interactive and meaningful exchange, I would like to invite Professor Arun, an experienced moderator. We received more than 120 questions, but due to limited time, we will only pick up the important questions. Also, we will try to wrap the session up in 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, you can ask some important questions, short questions. 120% we all will share, and we will send the reply to both all the appraisers.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll all agree with me that we had a wonderful discussion so far, and I must also compliment the organizers to actually plan a panel discussion after individual kind of lectures. This is a wonderful feeling, and I have learned a lot from these webinars. There is a number of questions that have come to us. Okay, I'm not going to initiate anything, but just to set the tone. There is a lot of question that has come. What should be the next kind of policy or our actions against terrorism? Just to provoke your thoughts further. See, the government, we gave the government we deserve. At the same time, expecting everything from the government will not be an ideal kind of situation. See, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and see what we did to Maldives, for example. So there is also a lot of responsibility on us, how we are going to respond to certain kind of challenges at our individual and social level. That's it. I have clubbed the questions. Okay, there are 120 questions that we have received. I have clubbed them. I would like to begin with Pralaji. The very first question comes on, are we going to develop indigenous defense system against ICBM threat for covering entire Indian territory? That is one. The second is like, as someone working in HAL, now there is an employee from HAL, he is asking, what specific advancements in the fighter aircrafts, UAVs, and integrated avionics should be prioritized to strengthen India's air superiority and support future operations like Sindoor, ensuring seamless integration with multi-domain warfare strategies?
Yeah, I will answer two questions. One was three. See, ICBM, defense against ICBM. I do not want to discuss things as progress. All I will say. I don't want to say anything more because it is a little bit sort of a sensitive issue. But things are being addressed. Number one, you will know once you know what happened. You will know. Second is you are concerned about the fighter and you unmanned UAV. See, the issue, the life is very precious. Every day, the value of a human being is increasing. When compared to maybe 20 years ago, today it is much more. So what likely to happen is more and more unmanned fighters, unmanned bombers will come. And the pilot will be asked to do from the rear side, safe side, all the operations. With all IISc available, you can find a velocity in your house safely. The required technologies and science, I agree with Arun, you have to create. It doesn't exist. You have to create the necessary science and technology to make it happen so that the soldiers are safer compared to what happened today. This is what would happen. So all the development and the creation of new ideas will be along these lines. What I want to say. You want to add, somebody wants to add, you can add. Yeah,
would you like to connect? Yeah, ICBM. Okay, yeah. Here is the mic.
Now on the ICBM, I must tell you something. This was year was 94, 95. Ralada was not in the room. I was called to Delhi with Kalam, and they asked me, who want me to defense secretary? I asked him, why should I be the defense secretary? You are my boss. He said, no, me the defense secretary. The moment he entered his office, so 94, 95, he said, Pakistan has got M11s from China, and they've got the warheads. They are threatening to launch it against India. Can we do anything? I said, sir, give you 1 week. After 1 week, I told him, I will give, Prithvi can be modified to be an ICBM of this range, and I'll come back and it can be done. But the radar and the computer, that's a different question. That we have to get separate. But the missiles, the main variants of Prithvi, and they will meet. Then they said, don't talk about it. We'll do it quietly, and they did it. And when it was launched, I was again now, I'm the enemy mission director, and Saraswat is on the interceptor. We had a good interception, and after the calamity, and congratulated us. That's what I did. Of course, many more things have happened, but later on when I was in the US, there was the Brookings Institution. They asked me to talk about ERA, ICBMs, and Palestinian defense itself. Before talking, I went to the embassy, told them, and when we gave a lecture, in the audience was the ambassador from Pakistan. He was sitting, welcome to be there. I'm not giving away anything. It's a very general thing which I got clear to my embassy. So it has been in tow for a long time.
Thank you, sir. And we move to the next set of questions. It's for General Arun. If India is fighting a war at 2.5 front, then how do we intend to fight enemies from within? That is one. And I club another question with it. Why don't we make self-defense training compulsory in our school and colleges? It's high time. People shouldn't wait for police and army to come when under threat. At least some basic techniques should be taught. What is your opinion on that? You mentioned silence, and we close the door.
Why does it always have to be always me who says, please maintain silence? Yeah. So the first question, 2.5 front. What do we mean by a 2.5 front? A full-fledged war with Pakistan on the west, and a full-fledged war with China on the north and the east. The half refers to the Naxal, stroke counter-terrorist, stroke counter-insurgency. That's the grey zone warfare that is happening within it. Is India capable of handling a 2.5 front war with the technology that you are now going to give us? The answer is yes. If you think that we have enough soldiers to stand 2 meters apart from each other along our entire 6,500 kilometer border, that is not going to guard us. It's a combination of multiple forms of technology, most critical being the ability to find out that this movement is going to result in a strike to me here and to terminate that movement there. That is the capacity that we are looking at. So look deep, analyze quick, act deep. This is what we look for. So 2.5 front, doable. Today, doable. Tomorrow it will only get better. Now with reference to teaching self-defense I understand the emotion of this question. So children must learn fitness. We must have a younger generation. We keep talking of national security threats.
I don't think Pakistan or China are our biggest national security threat. I think our biggest national security threats come from lack of employment, can come from the social difference between the rich and the poor, which is widening, come from the fact that we are not able to give the correct nutrition to our young people. In 2050, we are going to have 350 million numbers of Indians who are less than 18. You want India to be the number 1, number 2 GDP in the world? These are the kids who have to manufacture. To manufacture, they have to work long hours. Today, if you don't give them a good diet, they will never be strong enough to work. Take it to the next level. They will be so sick that our entire hospital infrastructure will be loaded just by looking after the health of those people. These are going to be our national security threats. Sure. Let us not look at everything through the prism of an AK-47. That is my job. Don't everybody do my job, please. You do yours, I will do mine. So threats are expansive and across the spectrum. If today, of the IIT JEE rankings in the top 100, 5 kids are choosing to go to MIT or some other school in the US to do an undergraduate engineering program, you must ask why. Yes. After all, we've been brought up on a diet of IIT's premier engineering college. They've studied it, blended it, worked for it 4, 5, 6 years, and yet they've gone there. This is the question we must ask. Is our institute here getting the best brains that we think we need? That is the question to us. These are our threats. Along with this, if you can learn fitness and self-defense in schools, of course it will help us stay fit and happy.
Thank you. In 2024, I came up with a book, The Varying Dimensions of National Security. And for the first time, we thought of expanded the scope of national security. As you said, unemployment, poverty, then so many other things, economic disparities and all that. If you factor in these issues, the very scope of national security can be widened, and we will be able to provide a lot of freedom, development to our citizens. That said, next question is to you, sir. Okay? This is the question. In near future, in any wartime scenario, with guided drones and AI-driven suicide drones, how should be India's preparation? Is India planning for a home-built defense corridor like Iron Dome?
The answer is, it is already there to a major extent. Of course, it needs a lot of changes in view of the lessons learned. If the Indian equivalent on which DRDO has been working on K1, K3 and all these systems which I have seen on ground, that has to come to the S400, S500 operational state. It will take another about 10 to 15 years. That is where there has to be a combination of the technology which is really and immediately required for our defense forces to ensure that the security of India is kept up. And in that period, because Indian indigenous development takes time and money, that time frame has to be given to the research organizations like DRDO. None of their projects have been part of both the production side and as part of collaborator with DRDO, user, and of course now in the private sector industry. None of our projects, please take it and underline, never take place in or on time. Only few of them. Only few of them. Sir, only few I am saying. This none comes in that only few periods of time. Everywhere it has to be there because it is not one particular organization or individual that is to be played. It is a set of feeling, set of disciplines that is written, and the choice of various units, sub-units and all that. Some of the components and items have to be imported. Even in Akash and all the systems, the components industry in India has not developed. The processors and FPGAs, most of them have to come from abroad. So these things need time. And some of the critical technologies, American restrictions are there. So now only, in fact, last about 6 months to 1 year, components manufacturing facilities is going to come up. And it will take another 10 years for that to reach a stage of stabilized production. By that time it reaches stabilized production, the world global market for components would have raised everything. Because money is so much and availability is very less. So keep that all this in mind when we discuss and decide that we will do that, we will give this and all that. It is with respect to time, money, effort, and certain specific areas where you have to give the time to the R&D operation. That is why in this period of time, and I don't know how much General Arun agrees with me, or our Airways Marshal and all that, they agree with me, there will be some sort of a gap. In that gap, to fill it, there will be some import, some part of, let us say, TOT type of production done in India. And in that period of time, the DRDO and other organizations should take on to develop not that type of technology, not that type of specifications for the equipment, much higher. What may come in after 10 years, they should work now. Unfortunately, what is happening is we are working on today's technology, which is available in the market, and that comes out after 10 years. So this gap, I can assure you, quite a few of the customers that are our own armed forces, defense forces, with whom I am still in contact, because I am still in a R&D and defense production agency, for defense only, so I am still in contact, I know their mindset. That has to be corrected means by all of us, by industry, private, public, and opposition. And the last point is that there is a, in the industry, private or public now, it has come to rupees naya paisa. You know, which one gives me some sort of a profit? How much is my sales turnover? How much is my bottom line? This is the level at which in all organizations, public or private, they look at it. And that is to be maintained means they cannot wait for something to improve, reprove, test proven, again and again. Once it is to be proven means your own things must be done. Okay? So these are the things that must be kept in mind. I am not against R&D, but R&D has to meet the immediate requirement. But it not take time. For that immediate requirement, you meet by means of technology transfer and both. There's nothing wrong in knowing from your own people. That's all I have.
We'll take 2 questions from the audience and then we'll wrap it up. Any question? Be very pinpointed, gentlemen here, then yeah, 2 questions. Can they get the mics? Yeah, there. You can give the gentleman there. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, my name is Kunal Konad. For a long time I have been reading this S-400 air defense system. How is it? I mean, are we in a position to replace that with our technologies? If we, then what is your position? In what time frame we can?
We'll take this question after. We'll drop these 2 questions. Sir.
Sir, the existing missiles and warheads, how to improve the range and speed and precision without changing the basic design, so that quick turnaround time is there and it can be used, because if you want to introduce new designs, it will take a lot of time to quickly put it to surveys, like some kind of fuel, new fuel, or something can be introduced into the existing thing. Is it possible to do such a thing?
We got a question, we are already doing it. When we are taken for Agric 50 year Akal, whatever you do, in next few years, already next person is coming. Improve accuracy, improve reliability, very happily. It is a regular feature and I'm sure you may not be aware, but it's happening, no problem. S-400 you are asking.
Yes, sir.
S-400 we are right now imported, we have our own systems. Maybe you will come to know in the near future. We will have our own systems available to use by the armed forces.
Let me amplify that because I was part of certain negotiations. You see, Russians wanted to set up their own maintenance and repair setup here in India at a huge cost. So Government of India has taken a decision that it will be done on the Army's requirement by giving and for Navy and Air Force requirement in a separate portion of it through Navy and Air Force retail organization. And industry, with each of them, one industry will be associated. And for that they have shortlisted 5 of the industries, luckily we are one of them. So depending on what is the price structure, if both of us will work out, that is Army and Navy and other different organizations and the industry. On that basis, the decision will be made. The Russians' costs are very high. It is almost 50% of the procurement cost of S-400 and S-400. The other point I think Sundar was also making with respect to the procurement of equipment from abroad on a wholesale basis. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, we are actually running out of time, sir. Okay, I think. Sir, only last question, sir. Please forgive.
What we are seeing is that in this war, this time, these operations, kinetic and non-kinetic forces and deployment is there. Now, what I see is that non-kinetic will grow in terms of, say, laser. Right now, even a drone is a kinetic thing. So, what are we doing on lasers, for example, or things like that? And secondly, see what happened in Gaza. We are seeing that is happening in Pakistan now. The militants and the terrorists and the army have become one. So tomorrow you will have the camps within the cantonments. Right now they are within, they are outside. You will have the camps in the hotels, in the hospitals.
My name is Deepak. But no more after this, I am being held to ransom here. Last question. How do you mitigate the risk of biochemical the attack?
I think, we have so many army people here. Discipline is something very important. So I'll as General Arun has been asking that he will answer these questions. Sir, can you be very precise? Because the organizers have given me a due.
It's happening. You don't need to know how I do my job. I don't ask you yours, you don't ask me mine. It's happening. Now, reference to bioweapons. Use of bioweapons isn't as simple as you might read in a comic book or see on a game in a video book. Vectors are extraordinarily difficult to handle. Once launched, extraordinarily difficult to control. Small things like changes in weather, temperature, wind speed, direction, all of these can have a very, very drastic effect. Does our adversary have the capability? Probably yes, probably no. Are some of our units prepared to handle this and work in a nuclear, biological and chemical warfare environment? The answer is yes. We can work through it, we can actually assault through it, and we can live in it. Till the time it is clear. That's a short answer. Otherwise, this is one of the most classified components of all governments.
You asked about Behera. It is going to private industry. It is headed by a scientist who was from the Indian Institute of Science. That much I can do.
Never ending questions and never ending responses to these questions. And I can assure you all these questions we are mailing to the respected speakers, and you will get kind of an answer through the organizers. And with this, I wrap up this session, and I cannot thank enough the organizers organizing such a very timely and important event to discuss not only Operation Sindoor, but also what should be our response politically and socially to a peace like terrorism. Thank you once again.
move towards the last part of our talk and our event, it is the felicitation ceremony. I would invite Nikita to felicitate Lieutenant General A. Arun sir. Lieutenant General Sudram sir will be felicitated by the Sixth Canon. Sudram sir, please. By Professor Ravi, General Secretary of IISc Alumni Association. Colonel Shankar sir by Abhinav Datta. Colonel Shankar sir, please come on the dais. Udaya ji. Professor Jagadeesh Gopalan sir by Ankita. I request IndianArmedForces and Sujata members to also join Ankita. Professor Deshmukh sir by Aroma. Professor Deshmukh sir, please come on the dais. Professor Anshuman sir, please come on the dais. Shri Ravi ji, please come on the dais. So we have only 2-3 minutes program left. After this, there will be vote of thanks, national anthem, and then group pictures for all who want to join us. So please do not overcrowd the stage. Udaya, you can do group photo later. So I will begin the vote of thanks for all. Good evening everyone. On behalf of Team Prasthutha and IISc Alumni Association, it is my great privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to all who made today's event a resounding success. On this auspicious day of Nirjala Ekadashi, a day that calls for restraint, inner strength and unwavering discipline, we are reminded that true service, whether in the battlefield, in laboratories or in public life, demands selfless dedication. It is only fitting that today we gather to honor such service. As Lord Rama said, and we have noted in Valmiki Ramayana, Janani Janmabhumishcha Swargadabhi Gariyasi. The mother and the motherland are greater than even heaven. These words reflect the core values embodied in today's program of patriotism, sacrifice, and the pursuit of higher purpose beyond the self. We immensely grateful to our distinguished guests, Lieutenant General Arun sir, Padma Shri Dr. Prasthutha Ramarao sir, ABM KN Santosh sir, Colonel Shankar sir, Professor Gopalan sir, Shri Ravi IISc, Professor Deshmukh sir, Professor Anshuman Behera sir, and Professor Birje sir, and Lieutenant General Sujata sir, for their wisdom and life experiences. We also extend our sincere appreciation to the IISc Alumni Association for their unwavering support, and the auditorium management, IISc management, and the catering team for their technical support. Our thanks are equally due. And finally to our audience, for our students, scholars, faculties and guests. Thank you so much for your patience. Our program was running late, but you made it success. So I would now like to request all of you to stand up for national anthem. Also, today it is an auspicious day where today is the anniversary of coronation of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So I would like to just say a group name. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj ki Jai! So we'll start with national anthem.